In December 2025, 3i Atlas re-emerges from behind the Sun, and with it, the world may discover something so profound it could rewrite our place in the cosmos. Will we finally decode the signals it's been broadcasting, or will we be left with more questions than answers, trapped in a cosmic game we never knew we were part of? Before we dive deeper into the mystery of 3i Atlas, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a comment. What do you think the true purpose of this interstellar object could be? Are we witnessing a cosmic plan unfolding before our eyes? It started quietly, almost imperceptibly, as though the universe itself had conspired to keep it hidden. In the vast darkness of interstellar space, 3i Atlas had been travelling for millennia, a lone traveller ejected from its home system and propelled through the galaxy. By the time it approached our solar system, it was already on a trajectory that would intersect the orbits of Mars, Venus and Jupiter, threading a needle that no natural wandering comet should have been able to navigate. Yet, despite this perfect alignment, the world remained oblivious. Most astronomers, busy cataloguing near-Earth objects or studying familiar comets, never registered its presence. Telescopes capable of spotting anomalies were pointed elsewhere, focused on mundane celestial events, while 3i Atlas slipped past the notice of humanity's gaze like a shadow moving silently across the night. The first sign that something unusual was happening came not from NASA or ESA, but from a handful of amateur astronomers who had been scanning the skies for anomalies. A faint streak of light appeared in the constellation Sagittarius, just above the plane of the ecliptic, its brightness subtle yet persistent, defying the natural laws expected of objects at such a distance from the Sun. But the initial reports were largely dismissed. After all, the object was small, almost imperceptible, and easily mistaken for a minor comet or a stray asteroid fragment. Most experts assumed it was another transient object, nothing more than a cosmic curiosity with no broader significance. Few realized that this streak of light was anything but ordinary. As the days passed, the anomaly grew, subtly at first, then with a strange insistence. Its path was too precise to be random, following an almost calculated alignment with the inner planets. It would swing past Mars, the red planet that has always fascinated humanity, then glide past Venus and approach Jupiter, each passage timed with near impossible precision. A natural object tossed into the galaxy by chaotic gravitational forces should have drifted unpredictably, its trajectory subject to chance. But 3i Atlas moved as if guided, deliberately, almost intelligently. By the time NASA and other agencies finally focused on it, the object had already passed Mars, slipping behind the Sun and out of view from Earth-based observatories. The timing was uncanny. In the same week, billions of dollars worth of observation equipment stood ready, yet no images, no preliminary data, no excitement filtered to the public. Silence. This silence was perhaps the most unnerving aspect. Not only was 3i Atlas unusual in its trajectory and composition, but its arrival coincided with a lull in governmental and scientific attention, a perfect convergence of cosmic and human oversight. It was as if the universe had orchestrated the conditions for it to enter our system unnoticed. Yet, the few who did observe it could sense the anomaly, an intuition reinforced by faint, inexplicable signals that appeared intermittently on radio telescopes. Patterns emerged, pulses that could not be dismissed as background noise. They seemed deliberate, intentional, coded with a message no one was yet capable of deciphering. As the object passed into solar conjunction, hidden behind the Sun, humanity had its first real taste of ignorance. Space agencies with instruments capable of unprecedented resolution collected data, but nothing was shared. Amateur astronomers, relying on far less sophisticated equipment, were left piecing together the evidence from what they could capture. And what they saw was more than curious. It was alarming. The precision, the light, the trajectory, the faint signals, all pointed towards something that defied conventional understanding. 3i Atlas was not just a wanderer, it was a visitor with a purpose, and yet the world remained unprepared, unaware, blind to the magnitude of its arrival. By the time 3 Atlas re-emerged from behind the Sun, it would already have left an indelible mark on those who noticed, setting the stage for questions that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about the cosmos, interstellar objects, and the possibility that some journeys through the void are anything but accidental. Its arrival was unseen, yes, but far from insignificant, and the world had only begun to grasp the depth of what had slipped quietly into our solar system. As 3 Atlas approached Mars, it was as if the universe had quietly set the stage for a cosmic drama. The object, still faint and distant, was first spotted by a handful of amateur astronomers who were just scanning the skies as they always did. They weren't expecting anything extraordinary, just another comet, asteroid, or some speck of interstellar dust that would briefly brighten their telescope screens. But this object was different. There was something about its trajectory that felt off, a precision, an alignment that seemed deliberate. But being amateur astronomers with limited resources, they had no idea just how significant their observations were about to become. Their initial images, while grainy and indistinct, still showed a pattern that didn't quite align with the natural behaviour of most comets. It wasn't until several more observers started capturing similar sightings that the whispers began. The faint streak of light was slowly coming into focus, moving at an unnatural pace, its direction just a little too calculated. Some even noted its odd brightness, a glow that defied the standard outgassing patterns of typical comets. Most objects that entered our solar system from the interstellar void would be far dimmer at such distances, usually lost in the vast cold darkness far beyond the orbit of Jupiter. Yet, this one had been visible even before it neared the Sun, an oddity that began to raise more than a few eyebrows. Some astronomers speculated that it was just an anomaly in their equipment, that perhaps the object's appearance was distorted by atmospheric interference or the limitations of their telescopes. But the more images that appeared from independent sources, the clearer it became 3I Atlas wasn't behaving like any comet or asteroid they had ever seen. At first, there was no immediate panic. The object was still a vague mystery, out of reach for the high-resolution telescopes of major space agencies. But it wasn't long before the professional astronomers caught wind of what was unfolding. NASA, ESA, and the other space agencies, well aware of their role in identifying potential threats, had been monitoring the sky for years. The brief window of opportunity to observe 3 Atlas had arrived, and yet the silence from these official bodies was deafening. The object was moving towards Mars, a planet that had been at the centre of interplanetary exploration for decades. Yet despite the best observational technology available, the silence remained. No official images were released, no analysis was shared, no detailed reports were published. Just silence. Meanwhile, the amateur astronomers who had first caught sight of the object were sharing their findings on social media and online forums. Their images were nowhere near as sharp as those from high-powered space telescopes, but the consistency across their reports couldn't be ignored. The object appeared elongated, more like a thin, stretched-out cylinder than a typical comet. Its light, though faint, was steady and didn't flicker in the way most comets would as they journeyed through the cold reaches of space. There was something unnerving about its appearance. It was almost deliberate. It didn't behave like the cosmic debris we'd come to expect. It was behaving like something that knew exactly where it was going. It wasn't just the shape that raised questions, it was the timing. 3I Atlas was moving on a trajectory that seemed impossibly precise. It wasn't just passing Mars, it was crossing the paths of multiple planets in the solar system with uncanny accuracy. The flyby seemed orchestrated, as though someone, or something, had calculated every move. The odds of this precise alignment were astronomical. For an object from the void to so perfectly intersect the orbits of Venus, Mars and Jupiter defied probability. But again, official space agencies remained tight-lipped. What were they seeing that we weren't? As the days passed and 3I Atlas neared Mars, the faintness of the object started to give way to clearer images. It was real. It was there. Yet the response from NASA and other official agencies remained completely void of excitement. No press releases were issued, no urgent announcements made. This wasn't just another comet, This was something else entirely. The silence became deafening. The few astronomers who had the courage to speak out were quickly brushed aside as conspiracy theorists, their observations dismissed as little more than the fanciful imaginings of amateurs with no formal training. It wasn't until later that it became clear. 3I Atlas wasn't just another random object passing through. It was a harbinger, a signal that we were too blind, too distracted to see. The anomalies surrounding it were only the beginning. What had started as a quiet arrival was about to become a cosmic enigma that no one seemed prepared to unravel. What was 3I Atlas truly trying to tell us? And why was no one in charge listening? The first glimpse was just the beginning of a mystery that would slowly but surely unravel the very fabric of our understanding of space. As 3I Atlas passed Mars, humanity was positioned for what should have been one of the most historic moments in the history of space exploration. The object, an interstellar visitor from the distant reaches of the galaxy, was now within range of the most sophisticated observation technology in existence. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, a satellite equipped with one of the most advanced cameras ever created, had been positioned perfectly for the flyby. NASA's instruments were tuned to capture high-resolution images of the object as it passed within 29 million kilometers of the Red Planet. Alongside NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, and other global space agencies had their own equipment trained on the object, ready to make discoveries that could alter our understanding of the cosmos. Yet, as 3 Atlas moved into position, something strange happened. The world waited for the first clear images that could finally answer the questions that had been building ever since the object was first detected. This should have been the moment when humanity saw 3I Atlas up close, with all the clarity provided by the cutting-edge instruments positioned in orbit. The excitement was palpable. A new chapter in space exploration, one that would reveal the secrets of an interstellar visitor, was just within reach. But as the object neared Mars, the silence from the space agencies was deafening. Nothing was released. No images, no data, no updates. For the public, it was as if 3I Atlas had never even been there. All the cameras, all the instruments that were meant to capture its passage remained dark, their findings locked away in an impenetrable vault of silence. Official statements from NASA, ESA, and the other space agencies were scarce at best. No one seemed to know anything. No one seemed to care. The expected deluge of press releases, the academic papers that would follow such a monumental event, never came. And the public, hungry for answers, was left in the dark, scrambling for scraps from the few independent sources that dared to speak up. The silence wasn't just puzzling, it was eerie. For decades, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter had delivered crystal-clear images of the Martian surface, capturing incredible detail from orbit. It had resolved features on Mars as small as a golf cart. Yet, when the greatest opportunity for a close-up of an interstellar object arose, those same instruments were somehow unable or unwilling to deliver. It wasn't just one failure, but a complete absence of information. The cameras remained silent. The data remained locked away. It was as though the agencies in charge had simply forgotten how to speak to the public. But there were whispers. Astronomers and amateur space enthusiasts, whose images were often dismissed by the mainstream, began to notice something troubling. They had captured faint, grainy pictures of 3I Atlas, and when processed, those images began to show strange, unexpected characteristics. The object didn't behave like a normal comet. Its shape seemed unnatural, and its light patterns were inconsistent with anything previously observed. Yet, even as independent astronomers gathered their evidence, the silence from the official space agencies continued. Some began to wonder, was this simply an oversight? Were the agencies caught off guard by an object they hadn't anticipated, leaving them scrambling to find an explanation? Or was there something more deliberate at play? Was the silence the result of a calculated decision to withhold information, to keep the world from learning the truth about 3I Atlas? The possibilities seemed endless. Perhaps the object was not simply an interstellar visitor, but something far more unusual, something that might challenge everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. What if 3I Atlas wasn't just a comet or asteroid, but something far more engineered, far more intentional in its arrival. Such a discovery could shake the very foundations of scientific understanding, and the agencies might not have been ready to handle the fallout. It was also hard to ignore the timing of it all. As 3I Atlas made its closest approach to Mars, the government shutdown had just begun, a situation that grounded many of NASA's staff and disrupted communications at the highest levels. Was this mere coincidence, or was it a preordained moment for the agencies to fall silent just as the object passed through the most closely monitored region of space? In the weeks following the flyby, as independent researchers continued to release their own findings, the silence from NASA, ESA, and others became increasingly conspicuous. No official release, no announcement, no celebration of what should have been the most exciting space event in the recent memory. Was this a simple failure of communication, or was there something more significant behind the veil of silence? The deeper one dug, the more it seemed like the truth was being kept hidden, perhaps even intentionally. And so, the question remained, what was it about 3I Atlas that made it so unsettling to the powers that be? What did they see, or fear, that the rest of the world was not privy to? Why did the space agencies choose to keep quiet, withholding the very images and data that could have changed everything? The more questions arose, the deeper the mystery became, and the more the silence seemed like an active choice rather than a coincidence. The world was left wondering. Was the silence from the space agencies simply a matter of missed opportunity? Or was it the beginning of something far darker and more enigmatic? In the days leading up to 3 Atlas's arrival, something strange began to happen. It wasn't the object itself that first caught the attention of a handful of astronomers, but a series of signals that seemed to emanate from deep space, far beyond the reach of any known natural source. These pulses of energy, discrete bursts that arrived in quick succession, were picked up by several radio telescopes across the globe. For a brief moment, the signals were unlike anything astronomers had ever encountered. They were powerful, sharp, and carried a strange, almost artificial quality. Some of the radio operators noted an unsettling regularity to the bursts. They were too precise, too deliberate to be the result of random cosmic interference. Yet, in a strange twist, these signals quickly slipped through the cracks, buried beneath the weight of static and dismissed by most as mere noise. To the average scientist, it seemed like a typical case of background radiation, or the interference that often plagues sensitive equipment. They thought it was just another glitch, a technical hiccup that could be easily explained away. But for those few who dared to look deeper, these signals were impossible to ignore. The timing alone was enough to stir suspicion. Just as 3I Atlas was making its way toward the solar system, these strange pulses began to surface, seemingly out of nowhere. It was as if the object was already broadcasting, perhaps not in a way that was immediately detectable, but in a way that hinted at something far more complex than a simple comet passing through. The pulses were fleeting but powerful, each one lasting only a few milliseconds but carrying enough energy to be detected from vast distances. They didn't follow the typical patterns of cosmic phenomena. Most naturally occurring signals in deep space have a degree of randomness to them, a chaotic quality that's inherent in the vastness of the universe. But these pulses, coming from the very direction where 3I Atlas was expected to appear, were organized. They had structure, rhythm. Something about them suggested intent, an intelligence behind the signal guiding its path through the cosmos. And yet, despite this oddity, the scientific community largely ignored it. The signals were attributed to nothing more than noise, a mistaken measurement, a temporary anomaly that would fade away as quickly as it had come. It was baffling. Here, in the lead-up to one of the most significant interstellar encounters in history, humanity had stumbled upon a set of signals that could have been the first communication from a distant civilization, a message from the object itself. But the moment was lost. The signals were dismissed by most as random fluctuations or natural interference, simple noise in the cosmic ocean. For those few who thought the signals might mean something more, it was a devastating blow. Why was no one taking these strange pulses seriously? What was it about 3I Atlas that made everyone so quick to ignore anything out of the ordinary? As the object neared Mars and the silence from space agencies deepened, some began to wonder if these signals had been a warning, a precursor to something that humanity was not yet prepared to comprehend. Could they have been a communication, not just from 3i Atlas itself, but from whoever, or whatever, had placed it on its path to our solar system? The questions lingered in the minds of a few, but the world's attention was distracted. With no significant push from the major space agencies to investigate the signals, they faded into the background, overshadowed by more immediate concerns. The idea that 3i Atlas might have been sending signals, transmitting from the very moment it entered our solar system, was a concept that many found hard to believe. The prevailing theory was that interstellar objects like this were nothing more than wandering debris, drifting through space with no purpose or direction. The idea that 3i Atlas could have been deliberately sending signals went against everything that most astronomers understood about the cosmos. After all, comets didn't broadcast and asteroids certainly didn't communicate. But what if this wasn't just a comet or asteroid? What if it was something far more engineered? Something with a purpose, a trajectory that was too precise to be random? The signals, lost in static, might have been the first hint that 3i Atlas was far from ordinary. As the months passed and the object's true nature became clearer, those early radio signals were remembered with a sense of growing unease. Could they have been an early attempt at communication, one that was too cryptic for anyone to recognize in time? Or worse, had they been intentionally ignored because they hinted at something the powers that be were not ready to address? The question of what those signals truly represented, whether they were an unintended byproduct of 3i Atlas's journey, or the first whisper from a civilization that had been watching us for far longer than we could have imagined, remains unanswered. What we do know is this: those strange pulses lost to the void of static might have been the key to understanding 3i Atlas, and yet they remain a mystery, buried in the silence of space, a signal that was heard but never fully explored, never understood. And now, as the object continues its journey through our solar system, we're left wondering, what else is it trying to tell us that we might be too distracted, too unwilling, or too afraid to listen to? In the vast expanse of our solar system, comets and asteroids are known for their dim and fleeting glow. As they travel through the cold darkness of space, far from the warmth of the sun, they remain faint and distant, barely visible to the naked eye. The farther an object is from the sun, the less light it reflects, and so comets and asteroids often appear as little more than faint smudges of light or dark rocks drifting through the void. But when 3i Atlas entered our solar system, it did something that no interstellar object had done before. It began to glow, not just faintly, but with a brightness that defied all expectations. From the moment it was first detected, 3i Atlas was different. Unlike other comets that fade into the background of space, it began to shine in a way that was impossible to ignore. At first, it was subtle, a faint glimmer that seemed to intensify the closer it got to the sun. But as it neared the inner solar system, the light grew more intense, outshining anything that should have been visible at that distance. In fact, it was brighter than anything astronomers had expected, especially for an object so far from the sun. At the distance 3i Atlas was travelling, comets typically remain in a frozen, dormant state, their icy bodies reflecting little light. Yet here was an object not just reflecting sunlight, but emitting light of its own, as though it were a beacon from deep space. The anomaly didn't escape the attention of astronomers. They were quick to note that the intensity of the glow didn't align with the size or composition of the object. Typically, the brightness of an object in space is determined by a combination of its size and how much sunlight it reflects. But 3i Atlas was too far out, too small to be glowing with such intensity. Something else had to be at play. It was a cosmic paradox. A distant interstellar object glowing brighter than any object of its size or distance should have been capable of. The question then became, what was causing this unusual luminosity? Some experts immediately began speculating that the object's brightness could be a result of outgassing, the process in which a comet's ices vaporize as it gets closer to the sun. This outgassing typically creates the bright glowing coma and tail that comets are known for. But there was a problem with this explanation. 3i Atlas wasn't behaving like a typical comet. The object was still too far out to be releasing significant amounts of gas or dust. In fact, there was no visible tail or coma, the usual signs of cometary outgassing. Instead, the object remained remarkably clear of any of the typical features of a comet as it passed through the solar system. Its brightness, while undeniable, didn't seem to match the behaviour of a comet at all. As the weeks passed and the object grew closer to Mars, astronomers began to rethink their initial theories. If 3 Atlas wasn't outgassing like a typical comet, then what was causing its brightness? Could it be a sign of something far more unusual? Perhaps an artifact of some kind, a beacon or signal broadcasting from the depths of space? What if this glow wasn't the result of a simple reflection of sunlight, but an intentional emission, a signal sent from the object itself from somewhere far beyond our understanding? The possibility that 3 Atlas could be transmitting some sort of signal was quickly dismissed by most experts. The prevailing view was that the object's brightness was merely an anomaly, an unexplained but natural phenomenon. But the more one looked at the object's behaviour, the more it seemed like something far more deliberate was at play. Its trajectory, its brightness, its lack of the usual cometary features, it all suggested that 3i Atlas was not just a simple object passing through our solar system. It was behaving in ways that seemed intentional, calculated, and if it were intentional, then why not its glow as well? Could this strange luminosity actually be a signal, an unintended one perhaps, but a signal nonetheless? In the midst of all this, the silence from space agencies was deafening. No one was willing to address the glowing anomaly or entertain the idea that 3 Atlas might be more than just a comet. The agencies, busy with their own priorities, dismissed it as an isolated phenomenon, an artifact of observation, and a problem too insignificant to investigate further. And so, the brightness that had captured the imaginations of a few astronomers and independent researchers was left unexplained, left to fade into the background of yet another unremarkable interstellar object passing through the solar system. But for those who paid close attention, the questions lingered. Why had 3i Atlas glowed so brightly, and why had it been dismissed so easily? Could this luminosity have been a signal, perhaps even an intentional one, sent from the object itself? And if it was a signal, what did it mean? Was it a message from the object's origins? Or was it simply an artifact of its journey, a byproduct of an unknown technology or force? These questions remained unanswered, lost in the shuffle of more pressing matters, but they marked the beginning of a mystery that was only growing deeper. In the end, the unexpected brightness of 3i Atlas may have been the first sign that this was no ordinary visitor from space. It wasn't just the light itself that was remarkable, but the fact that it seemed so out of place, so deliberate in its intensity. And as the object moved deeper into the solar system, the world was left wondering, was this glow a message we missed, or merely the first of many secrets 3i Atlas would bring with it? As 3i Atlas drew closer to Mars, it began to reveal details that defied the usual expectations for an interstellar object. For decades, astronomers had grown accustomed to seeing comets and asteroids in a very specific form, a rough, irregular blob of ice, rock, and dust. This was the expected shape for anything coming from the farthest reaches of space. But 3i Atlas wasn't conforming to these norms. As astronomers zoomed in on the object, something peculiar became evident. It wasn't a fuzzy, irregular mass at all. Instead, it appeared elongated, almost cylindrical, like a sleek, stretched-out object rather than the typical comet with a disorganized shape. This wasn't just a minor anomaly in the images, it was a stark deviation from what they knew to be normal. And it sent shockwaves through the community. At first, it was easy to dismiss this oddity as a mere artifact of image processing. After all, astronomical images often undergo heavy manipulation to sharpen details, remove noise, and enhance features. The possibility of the strange shape being a distortion in the data was something many experts were quick to entertain. Image processing could sometimes create optical illusions, making an object appear to take on a form that wasn't truly there. However, as more and more independent astronomers and astrophotographers released their images, a troubling pattern began to emerge. They were all reporting the same elongated cylindrical shape. This wasn't a random error in one or two images. It was a consistent feature across multiple observations made from different locations and with varying equipment. There was something about 3i Atlas's form that couldn't be easily explained away. The more the object was studied, the clearer it became that its shape was highly unusual for an interstellar visitor. Comets, as a rule, are chaotic in appearance, often displaying jagged edges or asymmetrical forms as their cores shed material over time. These irregularities arise from the unpredictable nature of their travels through space, affected by gravitational forces and the sublimation of their ices. But 3i Atlas wasn't following these rules. Its smooth, almost geometrically perfect shape was unlike any natural object that had ever been observed. Its cylindrical form appeared too ordered, too deliberate. And this raised a troubling question. What if 3i Atlas wasn't a comet at all? What if it was something far more engineered, something intentionally designed? Some experts began to entertain this possibility, suggesting that 3i Atlas might be an artificial object, rather than a naturally occurring one. The idea wasn't entirely new. After all, the interstellar object Oumuamua, discovered in 2017, had sparked similar debates. Its cigar-shaped form and erratic behaviour had led some scientists to propose that it might not be a simple rock, but a probe or a piece of alien technology. Could 3i Atlas be a similar type of object, something sent to our solar system by an unknown intelligence, purposefully shaped to resemble something we would overlook? Could the smooth, cylindrical form be a design choice, one that allowed the object to slip past our detection systems unnoticed? Theories about the object's true nature began to multiply. Some suggested that the cylindrical shape could be the result of an ancient craft, perhaps a probe sent by an advanced civilization eons ago. Others proposed that 3i Atlas might be a long-dormant vessel, activated only when it passed through a certain region of space. Perhaps its shape was not a byproduct of natural forces but an intentional design, made to withstand the vast journey across the galaxy without disintegrating or changing form. This idea, though far-fetched to some, began to gain traction in certain circles, especially among those who had been following the peculiarities of Oumuamua's journey. If both objects shared similar traits, an unusual shape, an unnatural trajectory, perhaps they weren't natural objects at all. But there were other, more grounded explanations as well. Some astronomers suggested that 3i Atlas might be an unusually shaped comet, one that had undergone a process of rotation or gravitational interaction that had flattened it into a more elongated form. It was possible that the object's long journey through space, affected by various cosmic forces, had caused it to lose some of its original irregularity. But this theory too had its own set of issues. For one, it didn't explain the precision of the object's movement or the consistent brightness it emitted. A natural object, even one that had undergone significant transformations, would likely have shown more erratic behaviour as it passed through the solar system. The fact that 3i Atlas appeared to follow a near-perfect trajectory suggested there might be more to it than just the influence of gravity and natural forces. The debate over the object's shape and nature continued to grow, as more astronomers and researchers weighed in with their own theories. The most compelling among them was the suggestion that 3i Atlas was not just a comet, but perhaps a sophisticated piece of technology, one that had been deliberately placed on its path to our solar system, its shape and behaviour engineered for a purpose. Could it be a probe, a message, or a test from an alien civilization? Or was it something else entirely, an ancient artifact sent from the distant past to make contact with us now, just as our technology was finally advanced enough to detect it? For those who were watching closely, 3i Atlas's shape was more than just a curiosity. It was the first clue that this object was not what it appeared to be. The strange, elongated form hinted at something deliberate, something beyond our current understanding of the cosmos. And as the object continued its journey through the solar system, the question loomed larger than ever. What was 3i Atlas really, and what did its shape and its presence mean for humanity? When 3i Atlas entered our solar system, it was already unlike anything astronomers had expected. Its unexpected brightness, strange cylindrical shape, and anomalous trajectory had raised eyebrows across the scientific community. But the most perplexing discovery came when NASA's instruments finally analysed the chemical composition of the object. What they found didn't just challenge the known laws of astronomy, it seemed to defy the very rules of chemistry itself. The tail of 3I Atlas, like that of any typical comet, was expected to contain common compounds, primarily water, carbon dioxide, and other volatile gases that are released as the object is heated by the sun. Comets often display a simple chemical makeup, with water ice, ammonia, and carbon dioxide being the most common elements detected. But when the instruments on NASA's spacecraft began their detailed analysis, they found something extraordinary. A strange mix of water, CO2, and several compounds that shouldn't have existed together in such a precise ratio. For starters, the water was there, but so was carbon dioxide, a standard finding in most comets. But the object's tail also contained an unexpected abundance of chemicals that didn't fit any known patterns. Most disturbing of all, the object's tail showed signs of chemicals that didn't belong in a simple comet's outgassing process. There were traces of heavy elements that shouldn't have been present under the conditions of space, compounds that could only be produced by intense industrial processes or engineered systems. Even more baffling was the presence of certain compounds that simply didn't belong together in the same chemical mix. In theory, the conditions of space should have prevented such a combination from forming naturally, and yet here they were, detected clearly by NASA's instruments. These were not just random chemical oddities, they represented something far more deliberate. As the data came in, it was immediately obvious that this wasn't just a case of an unusual comet. No, 3 Atlas was behaving like something more engineered than natural, as if the compounds in its tail had been specifically chosen or manufactured for a purpose. The way these compounds interacted was unlike anything observed in space before. Water and carbon dioxide, sure. Those made sense in the context of a comet. But what were these additional compounds? What was their purpose? Why had they been released in such a controlled and deliberate manner? The reactions were immediate, with experts in the field scrambling to explain the chemical anomalies. Some hypothesized that the object could be a particularly complex comet, its unusual composition the result of rare cosmic conditions, or a process we simply didn't yet understand. Others, however, started asking more uncomfortable questions. Could this be the result of some kind of artificial process, something engineered from beyond our planet? Could 3I Atlas be more than just a comet, perhaps a probe, or a fragment of a much larger spacecraft that had somehow broken apart and entered our solar system? The strange chemical cocktail in its tail seemed to suggest that the object was far more than a naturally occurring body drifting through space. What was even more unsettling was that this wasn't just a single anomaly. It was a pattern that suggested intelligence behind it. The compounds found in the tail of 3 Atlas were so specific, so out of place, that they couldn't simply be the result of a random cosmic event. The chemical makeup seemed deliberate, as if it were designed to carry certain properties, to emit specific substances, or perhaps to interact with the solar system in ways we couldn't yet comprehend. Could it be that someone, or something, had engineered this chemical signature for a purpose? Was the object's entry into our solar system not just a chance encounter, but part of a grander plan, one that involved the introduction of materials into the solar system that we couldn't possibly understand? The scientific community was divided. Some believed the object's strange chemistry was an isolated event, an unknown factor in the universe that we simply hadn't encountered before. Others were more suspicious, suggesting that 3I Atlas's peculiar chemical makeup might be evidence of something far more advanced, far more intentional than a mere comet. Were the strange elements in its tail the result of an alien technology, or was it a naturally occurring phenomenon that we just didn't have the scientific vocabulary to explain? The answers weren't forthcoming. The more they studied the object, the more questions arose. As the days passed and 3 Atlas continued its journey through the solar system, the debate grew. Was this an extraordinary chemical anomaly that simply defied explanation? Or was it the result of a conscious design, a purposeful transmission of materials from beyond our world? And why had the object's chemical signature appeared at precisely the moment it passed through the solar system? Was this part of a larger deliberate plan to introduce new substances to our corner of the galaxy, or was it an unintended consequence of some larger process? The data was clear. Something wasn't right. And the more scientists uncovered, the clearer it became that 3I Atlas was no ordinary comet. It was something else. Something far more complex, far more intriguing, and far more engineered than anyone had anticipated. As the mystery deepened, one question lingered. Could 3I Atlas be trying to tell us something, using its very chemical composition as a signal? And if so, what was it trying to communicate? When 3I Atlas passed Mars, the red planet experienced something entirely unexpected, an atmospheric shift that baffled scientists and sparked heated debate among astronomers. Mars, typically a quiet and stable world, had long been a subject of fascination for its barren, dusty landscape and history of once potentially supporting life. But as 3I Atlas made its approach, something strange began to unfold. The atmosphere of Mars, which had remained relatively unchanged for years, started to show signs of unusual fluctuations, changes that no one could quite explain. Was it simply a coincidence, or was 3I Atlas somehow influencing Mars in ways no one had anticipated? The first signs of something unusual came when atmospheric pressure readings from Mars's orbiters began to show a slight increase, followed by unexpected temperature shifts. The data was perplexing. Mars, a planet with a thin and cold atmosphere, rarely showed any significant changes in its atmospheric dynamics. Yet, as 3I Atlas neared, small but significant shifts began to appear. The surface temperature in certain regions fluctuated more than expected, and pressure changes in the atmosphere seemed to accelerate. This was odd, to say the least. Could 3I Atlas, a seemingly passive object drifting through the solar system, be having an effect on Mars in ways that defied logic? At first, many experts dismissed the idea. Mars had been studied extensively, and its atmospheric behavior was considered well understood. Changes in temperature and pressure could be attributed to seasonal variations, dust storms, or the faint influence of the sun. But as the data poured in from multiple space agencies, NASA, ESA, and even private organizations, one thing became clear. There was a strange consistency to these fluctuations. They weren't random. They seemed to follow a pattern that coincided with the approach of 3I Atlas. The timing was too precise to be a coincidence. One of the most striking aspects of the atmospheric changes was the sudden increase in the concentration of certain chemicals, specifically carbon dioxide and water vapor. These gases, though present in Mars's thin atmosphere, don't usually show dramatic spikes. But as 3I Atlas moved closer, their levels seemed to rise. The data from the Mars Express orbiter indicated that the concentration of CO2 near the planet's surface was higher than expected for this time of year. Water vapor, too, showed an increase in certain regions, suggesting that something, perhaps a hidden force, was at work. Could 3I Atlas be releasing these gases as it passed by, or was its mere presence in the vicinity influencing the Martian atmosphere in ways we didn't yet understand? Theories began to circulate. Some suggested that the object's proximity to Mars could be causing subtle gravitational effects, which in turn might be altering the atmosphere. Others proposed that the object might be emitting a type of radiation, one that could affect the Martian environment, much like solar radiation affects Earth's weather systems. But the most unsettling theory of all was that 3I Atlas wasn't just passing by Mars, it was actively interacting with the planet's atmosphere, somehow catalyzing these changes. If this was true, it would imply that the object had a purpose, one that was far beyond simply passing through our solar system. Was 3I Atlas here for a reason? Was it trying to alter Mars in some way? The possibility that 3I Atlas could be influencing Mars in such a direct manner raised more questions than answers. If the object was indeed interacting with the Martian atmosphere, could it be part of a larger plan, one that involved transforming Mars into something more habitable? Could it be a tool for terraforming, subtly modifying the atmosphere to make the planet more suitable for life? The idea was a far-fetched one, yet the more scientists looked at the evidence, the more they began to wonder if they were witnessing the first signs of such a process. If 3I Atlas was a deliberate construct sent on a mission to Mars, it might have been designed to trigger atmospheric changes, to initiate a slow transformation of the planet. This theory, though speculative, gained some traction among a small group of researchers who had been studying Mars's atmosphere for years. They pointed to the increased levels of CO2 and water vapour as potential indicators of greenhouse effects, the first step in any terraforming project. The idea that 3i Atlas could be part of a larger, long-term plan to make Mars more hospitable was both exhilarating and terrifying. If true, it would mean that the planet had been targeted for transformation, and 3i Atlas might just be the first phase of a much more elaborate process. But what could be the motivation behind such a transformation? Who would want to alter Mars in this way, and why? Was it an act of cosmic engineering designed to make the planet more hospitable for future generations? Or was there a darker purpose at play? Perhaps Mars had been selected not just for its potential as a new home for humanity, but as a testbed for something far more complex, far more controlled. If 3i Atlas was involved in this process, it might not just be an object passing through our solar system, it could be a signal, a herald of something much larger. As the data continued to come in and the atmospheric changes on Mars became more pronounced, the scientific community was left with a haunting question. Was 3i Atlas influencing Mars for reasons we didn't yet understand? And if it was, what would the next steps in this strange unfolding process look like? The red planet had always been a symbol of humanity's hopes for the future. But now, with the possible involvement of 3i Atlas, Mars was becoming something else, a mystery, a puzzle that could reshape the very nature of our existence. The encounter with this interstellar object was just beginning, and the consequences of what it might mean for Mars, and for us, were only just starting to be realized. When 3i Atlas made its appearance in our solar system, it seemed like a mystery that was both fresh and inexplicable, one that defied the expectations of modern astronomy. However, in an unexpected twist, ancient texts from the Sumerian civilization began to resurface, shedding light on an eerie connection between this interstellar visitor and the mythologies of a long-forgotten world. These ancient accounts, written thousands of years ago, described celestial visitors from the direction of Sagittarius, the very same region from which 3i Atlas was emerging. The implications were staggering. Was there a connection between these ancient records and the object currently passing through our solar system? And if so, what did it mean for our understanding of the cosmos, and perhaps our place within it? The Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations, were renowned for their sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. They meticulously documented the movements of stars and planets, creating some of the earliest star catalogues in history. The most startling aspect of their astronomical records was their consistent references to celestial visitors, beings from the stars who arrived in the skies from a distant location, somewhere in the direction of Sagittarius. The Sumerians believed these beings were not just from another place in the cosmos, but from a realm of divine power, tasked with shaping the future of humanity. These visitors, they claimed, brought with them knowledge and technology far beyond what the Sumerians could have developed on their own. They called these beings the Anunnaki, the gods who descended from the heavens. Now, as 3i Atlas approached our solar system, astronomers discovered that the object was coming from the very same direction described in Sumerian texts, the direction of Sagittarius. While this might have seemed like a curious coincidence to some, others began to see a pattern. The historical descriptions of the Anunnaki's arrival, their purpose, and their role in shaping the Earth seemed to mirror the appearance of 3i Atlas in ways that could not easily be dismissed. Was this a simple alignment of stars, or was there something deeper at play? Could the Sumerians, with their advanced knowledge of the stars, have recorded the approach of an object like 3i Atlas long before humanity had the technology to detect such things? The ancient tablets, which had been meticulously transcribed and translated over the years, told of a mysterious celestial body that appeared from time to time. This object, described in the Sumerian creation myths, was said to be a harbinger of change, signalling the arrival of beings from the heavens who would alter the course of human history. The descriptions were vague and often symbolic, but one thing was clear. The Sumerians believed that these visitors were not just passing by. They were coming with purpose, and their arrival was part of a larger plan, one that would reshape the Earth and its inhabitants. What makes these ancient texts even more unsettling is that they describe the Anunnaki as beings who would return to Earth when the time was right, when humanity was ready to understand their true purpose. In particular, the Sumerian texts referred to a cycle of about 3,600 years, a period after which the gods would return to complete their work on Earth. Modern astronomical calculations have suggested that the object now known as 3I Atlas has been travelling through space for approximately 3,600 years, aligning perfectly with the ancient text's timeframe. This uncanny timing raised questions that no one had anticipated. Was this cosmic visitor part of a cycle the Sumerians had documented so long ago? While many might dismiss these ancient stories as mere mythology or superstition, the alignment of 3I Atlas's trajectory with the Ymerian accounts is difficult to ignore. In fact, some researchers began to delve deeper into these ancient texts, looking for clues about the potential purpose of the object. The Sumerians' detailed descriptions of the Anunnaki's technology and their apparent ability to manipulate planetary environments raised the possibility that the object was not just a passing comet, but something far more sophisticated, something that could alter the course of history, or perhaps even the future of the human race. The implications were staggering. If 3I Atlas was truly connected to the celestial visitors described in Sumerian mythology, then we might be witnessing the return of a long-forgotten race of beings who, according to the ancient records, had once come to Earth to reshape humanity's destiny. The idea that an interstellar object, travelling from the direction of Sagittarius, could be linked to an ancient prophecy was both thrilling and terrifying. What if 3I Atlas wasn't just an object drifting through space? What if it was a harbinger, a signal from a civilization that had been observing us for millennia, waiting for the right moment to make its presence known? As the scientific community continued to study the object's trajectory and chemical makeup, the connection between 3I Atlas and the ancient Sumerian texts became more compelling. Was this object the same one the Sumerians had described so long ago? And if so, what was its purpose? Was it a warning, a message, or something far more profound, an intentional intervention in the course of human history? The mystery deepened with every passing day as 3I Atlas moved closer to the inner solar system. The more astronomers learned, the more they began to realize that this was no ordinary interstellar visitor. It was a puzzle, a cosmic enigma that linked the distant past with the present and possibly even the future. As the world watched 3I Atlas make its way through our solar system, the connection to the Sumerian myths could no longer be ignored. The ancient texts had spoken of a return, a time when celestial visitors would come to Earth once again. And now, with 3I Atlas drawing nearer, the world was left to wonder. Was this the return the Sumerians had foretold? And if so, what would it mean for the future of humanity? As 3I Atlas made its way through our solar system, the questions surrounding its true nature continued to multiply. Scientists had already raised concerns about its unusual shape, its unexpected brightness, and the odd chemical signatures emanating from its tail. But then, in a twist that would deepen the mystery even further, a renowned remote viewer named Birdie Jaworski made an astonishing claim. According to Jaworski, she had been able to see something within the depths of 3I Atlas that no telescope could detect. A small, highly advanced device, embedded deep within the object. This revelation, if true, could be the most significant breakthrough yet in understanding the true nature of 3I Atlas. But was it simply another case of wishful thinking? Or was there something truly inside the object, something that had eluded all traditional scientific methods of detection? Birdie Jaworski was no stranger to the world of remote viewing. For years, she had been known for her extraordinary abilities to perceive objects and events far beyond the range of normal human perception. While many viewed remote viewing as little more than pseudoscience or parlour trickery, Jaworski had built a reputation as one of the most credible practitioners in the field. Her work had been used by various governmental agencies, private organisations, and even scientific researchers, all of whom sought her unique talents to access information that would otherwise be out of reach. But what she claimed to have seen inside 3I Atlas was beyond anything anyone had anticipated. According to Jaworski, during one of her remote viewing sessions, she focused her attention on the object as it passed through the solar system. What she saw was a small, intricately designed device hidden deep within the core of 3I Atlas. The object, she claimed, was technologically advanced, far beyond anything humanity had developed. She described it as something akin to a machine, embedded within the object's structure, almost as if it had been intentionally placed there. This device, according to her visions, was not simply a random piece of debris, but a piece of alien technology, possibly designed for a very specific purpose. Jaworski's descriptions were detailed and precise. The device was cylindrical, small enough to fit within the confines of the interstellar object, but with technology that seemed almost impossibly advanced. Naturally, many in the scientific community were skeptical of Jaworski's claims. Remote viewing, despite its long history, remained a highly controversial subject. While some believed that there was a grain of truth to the phenomenon, others dismissed it entirely as a pseudoscience with no basis in reality. Skeptics argued that Jaworski's visions were simply the product of her imagination, or perhaps a result of wishful thinking fueled by the growing mystery surrounding 3I Atlas. After all, the idea of finding advanced technology inside an object travelling from another star system seemed almost too fantastical to be taken seriously. Yet there was something about Jaworski's vision that intrigued those who were closely following the events surrounding 3I Atlas. In her remote viewing session, Jaworski had not only described the device inside the object, but she also claimed to have perceived its purpose. According to her, the device wasn't merely dormant technology, it was actively transmitting data, sending signals, or performing some kind of complex function that was beyond her ability to fully understand. She suggested that the object was far more than a simple piece of cosmic debris. It was a probe, a piece of extraterrestrial technology sent for a reason. Whether that reason was to study our solar system, or whether it had some other, more mysterious purpose, was still unclear. But what Jaworski saw inside 3I Atlas seemed to suggest that the object's appearance in our solar system was no accident. This revelation sparked a wave of speculation, both within the scientific community and among the general public. Some wondered if Jaworski's remote viewing had uncovered a hidden truth, if the object was indeed a form of alien technology, sent from a civilization far beyond our own. Was it possible that 3 Atlas was not just a random object, but a carefully placed device with a mission? And if so, what was that mission? Was it designed to make contact with humanity? Was it simply gathering data on our solar system? Or was it testing the waters for a larger-scale interaction? These questions, though speculative, began to gain more traction as the mystery of 3I Atlas deepened. As Jaworski's claims were examined further, there was growing interest in the role that remote viewing could play in scientific discovery. Could this unconventional method of perception be a valuable tool in understanding phenomena that defy conventional methods? Could remote viewing help scientists explore the depths of space, or even other dimensions in ways that traditional instruments could not? Some argued that Jaworski's vision of the device inside 3I Atlas, while unproven, could open the door to a new way of thinking about extraterrestrial intelligence. If it was possible to see inside an object in space, perhaps there were other ways to access information that was hidden beyond the reach of our current technology. In the midst of all this speculation, one question remained. What if Jaworski had truly seen something inside 3I Atlas that no telescope, no space probe could detect? What if the object wasn't just a random comet, but a sophisticated piece of technology, perhaps a probe or a messenger from an alien civilization? The implications were staggering. If Jaworski's remote viewing session had uncovered a hidden truth about the object, it could change the way humanity approached space exploration and our understanding of the cosmos. As the mystery of 3I Atlas continued to unfold, the connection between Jaworski's vision and the object's true purpose remained a tantalizing possibility. Was the object simply a visitor, passing through our solar system by chance, or was it something more? An artifact from a far-off civilization, hidden in plain sight, waiting for humanity to finally uncover its secrets? The answer, it seemed, was just out of reach, waiting to be discovered through methods both scientific and unconventional. As 3's Atlas made its way through our solar system, a growing number of voices began to suggest that the object might not just be a random interstellar visitor. What if it wasn't merely passing through, drifting aimlessly across the vast expanse of space? What if it had been deliberately placed on a long journey, a journey that would take it through our solar system at precisely the right moment in time? Could 3's Atlas be more than just a comet or asteroid? It could be a message, a time capsule, perhaps even a warning sent from a distant civilization. This idea, known as the message in a bottle theory, has taken root among some of the most forward-thinking researchers, and it suggests that 3I Atlas's arrival is no coincidence at all. The premise of the theory is simple but profound. 3's Atlas could be a carefully placed object, sent out across the galaxy with the sole purpose of delivering a message to us. Its precise trajectory, its unusual shape, and its unexpected brightness have led some to believe that it's far more than just a natural object. Instead, it could be an interstellar message in a bottle, a communication designed to reach us at a critical point in our technological and cultural development. The object's passage through the solar system might not be an accident. It might be an orchestrated event, set in motion by an intelligence from another star system, one that has been watching us for eons. This theory raises several compelling questions. If 3I Atlas is a message, what is it trying to tell us? Is it a warning, perhaps about the dangers of space exploration or the risks of technological advancement? Could it be offering knowledge, a roadmap to understanding the cosmos in ways we haven't yet considered? Or is it simply a test, a probe sent to see if we're ready for contact, ready to understand something far beyond our current grasp? The notion of a message in a bottle is not new. For centuries, humans have sent messages across vast distances, in bottles or messages in space, hoping they might one day be discovered by someone somewhere at the right time. The difference with 3I Atlas is that it's not a message that we've sent out, but one that's been sent to us. What's more, its timing and arrival are so precise that it's hard to ignore the possibility that it's been placed here intentionally. Consider the trajectory of 3I Atlas. Its path through our solar system is far from random. It doesn't just happen to pass by Earth and Mars. Its route takes it in a precise alignment with the solar system's plane, bringing it close enough to planets like Mars and Venus to suggest that someone, or something, knew exactly where it would be when it arrived. This level of precision, the clear alignment with our solar system, cannot easily be chalked up to chance. If 3 Atlas was simply wandering through the galaxy, its path should have been more erratic, more random. Instead, it seems to follow a calculated, deliberate route, leading some to believe that it's not just a cosmic wanderer, but a messenger on a mission. What kind of message could 3I Atlas be carrying? Some proponents of the message in a bottle theory suggest that the object's unusual properties, the odd chemicals in its tail, its unexplained brightness, its mysterious shape, might contain encoded information. If the object is truly a time capsule, then it could be holding a treasure trove of knowledge, waiting for humanity to decode it. Perhaps the chemicals in the tail are not just the byproduct of a comet's outgassing, but a form of communication, something designed to interact with our own technology. The object's shape, too, could be part of a larger puzzle, one that requires us to understand its meaning in a way that transcends traditional astronomy. Others suggest that the message could be more subtle, more philosophical in nature, a warning or a challenge. Could 3 Atlas be a kind of cosmic wake-up call? A reminder of the fragility of our existence and the dangers of advancing technology without fully understanding the consequences? The fact that it appears to be moving in such a deliberate, purposeful way might suggest that whoever or whatever sent it has seen something in humanity's future that we haven't yet recognized. It could be a warning to slow down, to reconsider our trajectory, and to understand that there are greater forces at play in the universe than we currently grasp. Some even entertain the possibility that 3I Atlas is not just a message for humanity, but a test, a way for an advanced civilization to assess whether we are ready for something far more significant. If the object is truly a probe or a messenger, it might be gauging our response to its arrival. Are we prepared to decode its message? Are we open to the idea that we are not alone in the universe? The timing of its arrival, coupled with the strange signals and chemical signatures it's emitting, may be an intentional invitation for us to wake up and recognize that there's more to the universe than we've ever imagined. The message in a bottle theory, while speculative, raises critical questions about our understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. If 3i Atlas is truly a deliberate message, then it suggests that the universe may be far more interconnected than we have ever imagined. And if it's a warning or a call for us to change course, then it's up to us to decipher it before it's too late. The object's passage through our solar system may be the beginning of something profound, a moment of contact, a cosmic invitation, or a warning sign for a future we may not be prepared to face. As 3 Atlas continues its journey, one thing is clear: the mystery of its origins, its purpose, and the message it carries is far from over, and we may not have much time to decode what it's trying to tell us. When 3 Atlas made its closest pass by Mars on October 3, 2025, it should have been a moment of unprecedented discovery, an opportunity for scientists across the world to capture high-resolution images of an interstellar object, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. NASA, ESA, and a host of other space agencies had their instruments pointed directly at the object, poised to collect data that could provide answers to some of the most pressing questions in astrophysics. With cutting-edge technology, multiple observatories, and advanced telescopes trained on 3i Atlas, the expectations were high. The public anticipated a flood of images, detailed, crisp pictures of the object as it passed through the solar system. Yet, as the day came and went, something even stranger happened. No high-resolution images were released. Nothing. The silence that followed the flyby was deafening. There were whispers, rumours, and theories, but official statements from the space agencies were sparse at best. The absence of clear, definitive images raised immediate concerns. Was the object too far away to capture in such detail? Or had something been deliberately withheld from the public? After all, 3i Atlas was making its way through a part of the solar system that had been well studied before. Space agencies had no shortage of experience photographing distant objects and asteroids with greater precision, even those located far outside the inner planets. This wasn't the first interstellar visitor to pass through our solar system, nor was it the first object to fly by Mars. Yet, there was something undeniably unusual about the way 3i Atlas's flyby was handled. Some experts quickly chalked it up to logistical issues. Perhaps there were difficulties in capturing the images, or maybe there were technical glitches with the spacecraft's instruments. But others found these explanations unconvincing. The technology was available. The agencies had been preparing for this moment for years. So why, with so many instruments positioned and so much anticipation, were no high-resolution images made available to the public? It was as if the very images we had been promised had simply vanished, leaving behind only vague updates and partial data. What had been captured, if anything, seemed to remain locked away in the vaults of space agencies, hidden from view. This lack of transparency was concerning on multiple levels. Space agencies had never been shy about releasing images of distant planets or newly discovered comets. With previous interstellar visitors like Oumuamua, there was an immediate flurry of activity, with images and data released swiftly to the public. Yet, when it came to 3i Atlas, something seemed different. The usual procedures for releasing scientific findings appeared to be on hold. Was it a simple oversight? A series of technical failures that no one had anticipated? Or was there something about 3i Atlas that prompted a more cautious approach? Something that these agencies were reluctant to share with the world? As the days passed, the lack of images became more conspicuous. The public was left with very little to go on, and the scientific community was left to speculate about what had been captured, if anything at all. Theories about what the space agencies had seen started to circulate. Was there something in the images that didn't align with our current understanding of interstellar objects? Was 3i Atlas showing signs of intelligence, or perhaps some kind of alien technology that might have caused concern among the powers that be? Could there have been something about the object's behaviour or its structure that didn't fit the expected pattern for comets and asteroids? If 3i Atlas was behaving in a way that defied conventional physics, might the agencies have decided to withhold information until they could fully understand what they were dealing with? The possibility that 3I Atlas was not a natural object but something more engineered, something more deliberate, was gaining traction in some circles. The eerie silence surrounding its flyby only fueled these speculations. Was it possible that the object wasn't just passing through, but was actually sent on a specific trajectory, and that the space agencies knew more than they were letting on? If 3I Atlas was indeed carrying a message or a piece of alien technology, would releasing images to the public compromise that discovery? Was this the reason behind the deliberate delay in releasing the images? Theories about government cover-ups, whether true or not, began to spiral out of control, leaving the public grasping at explanations that were both frustrating and unsettling. One thing was clear: the lack of transparency surrounding the flyby was deeply unsettling. The mystery deepened as the scientific community found itself in a state of limbo, unable to access the raw data needed to make sense of what had just passed through our solar system. While some insisted that the object was simply a comet with an unusually bright tail and an odd trajectory, others felt that there was more to the story, something more profound, more significant, and potentially far more dangerous. And as the days went on, with little new information coming from the space agencies, the feeling that 3I Atlas was not just another passing object began to solidify. The strange and high strangeness of the flyby, marked by the absence of critical images and data, raised serious questions that have yet to be answered. What was captured, and why was it never shown to the public? Was it simply a matter of technical difficulty, or was there something in the images, something the public wasn't ready for? The fact that these images, these crucial pieces of the puzzle, were kept hidden only deepened the mystery surrounding 3I Atlas. The truth, it seemed, was still out of reach, and as long as the images remained locked away, the question of why they were withheld would continue to linger, adding another layer to the growing enigma of 3I Atlas. As 3I Atlas made its way through the inner solar system, the world waited for the high-resolution images that were promised by space agencies around the globe. NASA, ESA, and others had their instruments trained on the object, but as the flyby approached, the official images were curiously absent. The public was left with nothing but vague updates and empty promises, until one unexpected individual, astrophotographer Simeon Schmaus, made an astonishing breakthrough. While the professional space agencies were tight-lipped and reluctant to release anything of significance, Schmaus, armed with nothing more than his personal telescope and a keen eye, managed to capture the first clear images of 3I Atlas. The images that Schmaus captured were not the typical blurry smudges that amateur astronomers often find when attempting to photograph distant objects in space. No, what he managed to reveal was something entirely different, a faint but unmistakable structure. The object appeared elongated and smooth, unlike the usual irregular, fragmented shape of most comets. Schmaus's photographs hinted at a geometric symmetry that had previously been absent in the public's understanding of 3I Atlas. While many had written off the object as a mere comet, Schmaus's images suggested that it was something far more engineered. In the photos, the object was not just a random, chaotic mass. There was an order to its shape, an almost mechanical quality that raised immediate questions. The surface appeared unusually smooth, with edges that were too defined for the typically uneven and jagged surface of a comet. The structure was elongated, almost cylindrical, and as Schmaus zoomed in on the image, some details began to emerge. Details that suggested something far more deliberate, something that couldn't easily be explained by the conventional models of celestial objects. The most striking feature of Schmaus's photographs was the clear absence of the typical coma and tail that one would expect from a comet. Instead of the usual glowing cloud of gas and dust, there was a subtle halo around the object, but it was far more controlled and far less chaotic than one would expect. This anomaly raised immediate questions. Was 3 Atlas truly a comet, or was it something else entirely, an artificial object perhaps, deliberately placed in our solar system? Could it be a probe, a vessel, or something designed with a specific purpose? The scientific community was divided. On one side, many experts dismissed Schmaus's discovery as a fluke, a trick of the light, or a product of overzealous interpretation. After all, Schmaus was an amateur astronomer, and his findings did not come from the highly calibrated instruments of official space agencies. But on the other side, Schmaus's photographs provided something the space agencies had failed to deliver: clarity. They showed a clear, unambiguous structure, one that didn't fit the traditional model of a comet or asteroid. The idea that 3I Atlas could be more than just a comet wasn't new. There had been whispers for months about the possibility that the object was something engineered, something intentionally placed in our solar system by an unknown intelligence. Some had speculated that the object might be a piece of alien technology, or even a probe, sent to study our planet or send a message to humanity. Schmaus's images seemed to provide evidence of this theory. The object's geometric shape and the way it seemed to reflect light didn't align with anything that would naturally form in space. Comets, for example, are typically irregular, often shaped by the collisions and gravitational forces they experience during their journey through the solar system. 3I Atlas, however, appeared to have been designed with a sense of purpose, its smooth contours suggesting something far more deliberate. Ready for the next chapter in humanity's cosmic journey? Subscribe now and comment below. What do you think will happen when 3I Atlas re-emerges from behind the Sun? Could it change everything we know about our place in the universe? The implications of Schmaus's discovery were profound. If 3I Atlas was not just a comet, but a deliberately engineered object, then it would change everything we thought we knew about interstellar objects. It would no longer be a random visitor from another star system. It would be something with intent, perhaps even a message from an advanced civilization, or a tool placed here to observe us. Some theorists began to question whether 3I Atlas had been on a long journey, intentionally timed to pass through our solar system at just the right moment, to make its presence known to us when we were ready to detect it. Schmaus's photographs were, in many ways, the first piece of tangible evidence that 3I Atlas was something much more than it appeared. The object's unusual structure and behaviour could no longer be explained away as mere coincidence. The idea that it might be an artificially constructed object, rather than a natural phenomenon, gained more traction. In the absence of clear data from the space agencies, Schmaus's images became a focal point for the growing debate about the true nature of 3I Atlas. The question now was whether the space agencies would continue to withhold their data, or if they would acknowledge Schmaus's discovery and provide the public with the high-resolution images and detailed analysis that they had promised. Schmaus had done what no one else had. He had captured a glimpse of the object that raised more questions than answers. The world was left wondering, was 3I Atlas truly a comet, or was it something far more sophisticated, far more intentional than we had ever imagined? Schmaus's images had opened a door to a mystery that could rewrite the history of space exploration, and perhaps even change the course of humanity's future. The arrival of 3I Atlas in our solar system seemed almost too perfectly timed to be an accident. As the object made its approach, its trajectory appeared to be guided by an unseen hand, aligning itself almost precisely with the ecliptic plane, the path along which most of the solar system's planets orbit. But what made this alignment truly striking was the way 3I Atlas passed through the paths of three of the most significant planets in our solar system: Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. These were not just any planets. They were key players in the gravitational dynamics of the solar system, each one crucial to the object's trajectory. Was this just an extraordinary coincidence, or was the object's path meticulously planned, suggesting a deeper, more purposeful origin? The ecliptic plane is not just an arbitrary line in space. It represents the plane of our solar system's main disk, the plane in which most of the solar system's planets, moons, and objects orbit. For an object like 3I Atlas to enter the solar system and align so precisely with this plane was nothing short of remarkable. Most comets and asteroids that cross our solar system come from random trajectories, arriving at odd angles and at unpredictable times, often following paths determined by gravity and the chaotic forces of the galaxy. But 3I Atlas didn't follow those random patterns. Its path was calculated, deliberate. It moved through the solar system with a level of precision that raised questions about its true nature. The timing of its arrival was equally suspicious. As 3I Atlas made its way through the inner solar system, it didn't just drift by these three planets. it passed through their gravitational spheres of influence with uncanny precision. First, it passed Venus, a planet that, while relatively close to Earth, has often been seen as a distant neighbour in the grand scheme of the solar system. Then, as if following a predetermined route, it came within range of Mars, the fourth planet from the Sun, and one that had long been the focus of space exploration. Finally, 3 Atlas made its way toward Jupiter, the gas giant that holds sway over much of the solar system's gravitational dynamics. The fact that 3 Atlas passed so close to these planets, which play a crucial role in shaping the orbits of objects within our solar system, seemed to suggest that its journey had been mapped with a level of precision that defied the randomness of cosmic chance. What made this alignment even more curious was the way it perfectly coincided with a crucial moment in humanity's history of space exploration. Mars, the planet that had been the focus of NASA's rovers and orbiters for decades, was on the verge of becoming a central target for human colonization. If 3I Atlas had been placed on this path deliberately, then its alignment with Mars could be more than just an astronomical coincidence. Could the object have been sent to this specific position, at this specific time for a reason? Was it meant to coincide with humanity's increasing interest in the red planet? Or was it designed to interact with our exploration efforts in some way? Some theorists began to propose that the alignment of 3I Atlas with Venus, Mars, and Jupiter wasn't just a matter of chance. It was part of a larger cosmic plan. The object's trajectory appeared almost as though it had been intentionally guided through these key planetary regions, as though someone, or something, had placed it on this course. The perfect storm of cosmic alignment suggested that this was no ordinary visitor. It was as if 3I Atlas was a message, a deliberate event, designed to arrive at a critical moment in human history. The gravitational influence of the planets was another piece of the puzzle. As 3 Atlas passed by Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, these planets would have exerted their gravitational pull on the object, nudging it along its path in ways that seemed too perfect to be accidental. Some scientists speculated that the alignment wasn't simply a result of the object's natural trajectory, but rather a carefully planned course, with the object's path being subtly adjusted by the gravitational fields of the planets. This would suggest that whoever or whatever had sent 3 Atlas into our solar system had a deep understanding of our solar system's gravitational mechanics. The question then arose, was this a natural cosmic event, or was the object intentionally positioned and guided to follow this precise path? For many, the alignment of 3I Atlas with Venus, Mars, and Jupiter became one of the strongest pieces of evidence that the object was far more than a random interstellar traveller. Its trajectory was too perfect, too precise to be the result of chance. Was it a message from an advanced civilization, intentionally sent on a course to intersect with our solar system at just the right moment in time? Or was it an artifact of a long-forgotten cosmic engineering project, placed in the solar system to observe, monitor, or perhaps even influence the trajectory of life on Earth and Mars? As the object continued its journey through the solar system, the questions surrounding its alignment grew. Was 3 Atlas truly a random object passing through, or was it part of something much larger, something that was orchestrated to make contact at this precise moment in history? The perfect storm of cosmic alignment seemed to point to something far more deliberate, something that had been set in motion long before humanity had even begun to study the stars. The mysteries of 3I Atlas were only beginning to unfold, but one thing was clear. Its arrival wasn't a coincidence. It was part of a much bigger story, one that could change our understanding of the universe forever. As 3 Atlas made its way toward the Sun, something unusual began to happen. Solar activity, which had been relatively calm in the months leading up to its arrival, spiked dramatically. A series of intense solar flares erupted from the Sun, sending powerful bursts of radiation and charged particles racing toward Earth. This sudden uptick in solar activity, though not entirely unexpected in a solar cycle, seemed to coincide precisely with the object's trajectory as it passed through the inner solar system. The timing was too perfect to ignore. Could 3I Atlas be triggering these solar events, or was this simply a byproduct of the object's passage through our solar system? And if the two were connected, what did that mean for our understanding of space, solar activity, and even the nature of 3I Atlas itself. The connection between solar flares and interstellar objects is not something that scientists had previously explored in depth. Solar flares are typically caused by the sun's magnetic field interacting with charged particles, often as part of the solar cycle. These eruptions can send enormous bursts of energy across the solar system, potentially disrupting communication systems on Earth, or even affecting satellites in orbit. The intensity of these flares depends on a variety of factors, including the sun's activity cycle and its magnetic field behavior. However, the timing of the flares during the arrival of 3I Atlas raised questions that hadn't been asked before. Could an interstellar object, something so far removed from the sun and Earth, be influencing solar activity in such a precise way? The first clues that 3I Atlas might be connected to the increase in solar activity came when astronomers noticed the object's trajectory aligning almost perfectly with the sun's magnetic field. As 3I Atlas approached the sun, it passed through the solar wind, the stream of charged particles emitted by the sun. This stream interacts with objects as they travel through the solar system, often creating disruptions in their movement and behavior. In some cases, objects passing through the solar wind can experience heightened interactions with the sun's magnetic field, potentially triggering an increase in solar flare activity. But what made 3I Atlas different was the sheer intensity of the solar flares that followed its arrival. These flares were not just random bursts, they seemed to be a direct response to the object's proximity to the sun. Scientists began to speculate about the possible mechanisms behind this connection. One theory suggested that 3I Atlas, as it passed through the solar system, was interacting with the sun's magnetic field in ways that had never been seen before. Could it be that the object's own magnetic properties, or perhaps its composition, were somehow triggering these solar flares? Some researchers proposed that the object could be carrying a unique material, an unknown substance that, when coming into contact with the sun's energy, might be causing a series of chain reactions, resulting in the bursts of solar activity. This theory was based on the idea that the object was not just a random comet, but something far more complex, something that could influence the solar environment in ways we couldn't yet comprehend. Another possibility was that the increase in solar flares wasn't directly caused by 3I Atlas, but rather a side effect of its presence. As the object passed through the solar system, it could have disturbed the sun's solar wind, creating temporary disruptions in the solar system's electromagnetic field. These disturbances might have, in turn, triggered an increase in solar flare activity. The gravitational forces exerted by 3I Atlas, while relatively small due to its size, could have contributed to these changes in the solar wind, which then resulted in a spike in solar flare intensity. Yet, there was a more unsettling theory that some began to entertain. What if 3I Atlas wasn't just a passive visitor to the solar system? What if it had been intentionally placed in our path, sent here not just to observe, but to interact with our star in a way that triggered these solar events? If the object was truly a deliberately engineered piece of technology, its passage through the solar system could have been designed to induce a reaction from the sun, one that would push the solar system into a new phase of activity. This idea, though speculative, raised the possibility that 3I Atlas wasn't just an object passing by. It could have been a carefully orchestrated event meant to test or harness solar energy in ways we couldn't yet fathom. The spike in solar flares that coincided with 3 Atlas's trajectory through the solar system was more than just a coincidence. It was an event that defied the usual patterns of solar activity, suggesting that the object's presence had a direct influence on the sun's behavior. Whether it was the object itself or the disturbances caused by its passage through the solar wind, something about 3I Atlas had triggered a response from the sun. As scientists continued to analyze the data, the mystery only deepened. What did this connection between the solar flares and 3I Atlas mean for our understanding of interstellar objects' solar dynamics and the possibility of advanced technology hidden in plain sight? The more questions that arose, the more it seemed that 3I Atlas was not just a passive visitor passing through our solar system. Its influence on the sun and the timing of the solar flares suggested that it was part of something far more complex, something that we were only beginning to understand. As the object continued its journey, The connection between it and the solar flares would remain a key piece of the puzzle, one that might ultimately reveal the true purpose of 3I Atlas and its place in the vast cosmic web. As 3I Atlas made its way through the solar system, scientists across the world eagerly began to analyze the object's light, hoping to unlock more secrets about its true nature. What they found, however, was both perplexing and unexpected. When astronomers studied the polarization of the light coming from 3I Atlas, they encountered something that didn't match the expected patterns for any known comet or asteroid. Polarization, the way light is filtered and scattered by particles, is a key piece of information when it comes to understanding an object's properties, from its surface composition to its interaction with the environment. But the light from 3I Atlas was behaving in ways that defied all known theories. Could this strange polarization be the key to understanding what the object truly was, and perhaps reveal something even more surprising about its origin and purpose? Polarization typically occurs when light interacts with an object's surface or atmosphere, causing the waves of light to align in a specific direction. For most natural objects, such as comets or asteroids, this interaction is fairly predictable. Comets, for example, often exhibit a certain degree of polarization because of the way sunlight is scattered off their icy surfaces and dust tails. Similarly, asteroids and other rocky bodies in space will polarize light in characteristic patterns that can be traced back to their physical properties: rough surfaces, irregular shapes, and the way their materials reflect light. So when astronomers began to study 3I Atlas's light polarization, they were expecting to find patterns that matched these known behaviors. But what they discovered was anything but expected. The polarization of 3I Atlas's light was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It didn't align with the typical behavior of a comet or asteroid. In fact, it seemed almost unnatural. The object's light was polarized in a way that suggested a highly ordered, engineered surface, far beyond the irregular, chaotic surfaces of natural celestial bodies. Rather than the expected scattering of light, 3I Atlas's polarization appeared to be controlled, structured in a way that would imply intentional design, not the random, haphazard effects of a naturally formed object. This raised a disturbing and fascinating question. What if 3I Atlas wasn't just a natural visitor from another star system, but a deliberately engineered object, crafted for a specific purpose? The unusual polarization led some researchers to suggest that 3I Atlas might not be a comet at all, but a probe, or some form of technology, deliberately designed with specific optical properties. The idea that the object could be a piece of alien technology had been gaining ground ever since its arrival. Its perfectly aligned trajectory, unusual shape, and now its bizarre polarization all pointed to something that didn't fit the known patterns of interstellar objects. Could the polarization of the light be a clue to understanding the technology inside 3I Atlas? If it was a probe or artificial object, the way its surface interacted with light could be a deliberate choice, perhaps for communication, energy harvesting, or some other unknown purpose. Some theorists propose that 3I Atlas's surface could be made of an advanced material, one that was designed to interact with light in a very specific way. This material could have been created to absorb or reflect energy from the sun, or to communicate using light signals. The strange polarization could be a form of camouflage, hiding the true nature of the object, or perhaps even part of a more complex system of signals that had yet to be deciphered. The fact that 3I Atlas was emitting light that didn't follow the typical rules of comets and asteroids only deepened the suspicion that it was far more than a simple natural object. At the heart of this enigma was the question of purpose. If 3I Atlas wasn't just an object tumbling through space, if it had been designed with this peculiar polarization in mind, then what was its goal? Was it merely a probe sent to study our solar system in much the same way that humanity has sent probes to distant worlds? Or was it something far more intricate, perhaps part of a larger plan sent as a message or as a tool to gather data? The polarization could, in fact, be a form of signaling, whether intentional or unintentional. Perhaps the object was transmitting information to a distant civilization, or was merely programmed to observe and send back data. In the end, the mystery surrounding the light polarization of 3I Atlas only added another layer to the growing enigma of its true nature. Its behavior was far outside the norm for interstellar objects, and the possibility that it might not be a natural comet or asteroid seemed more likely with each new revelation. The strange polarization of its light couldn't simply be ignored. It was a crucial piece of evidence that begged for further investigation. Whether this was the result of advanced alien technology or some yet-to-be-understood natural phenomenon, the truth about 3 Atlas remained elusive. But one thing was clear. The object was not behaving like anything we had encountered before. And as astronomers and researchers continued to study it, they were left with a chilling realization. 3 Atlas might be a messenger, a technology, or something else entirely, and the key to unlocking its purpose lay hidden in the very light it emitted. As the scientific community delved deeper into the mysteries surrounding 3 Atlas, the more it seemed that the object was defying every basic principle of cosmic physics, from its unexpectedly high speed to its precisely calculated trajectory to the astonishing brightness it emitted. 3 Atlas was quickly revealing itself to be something far beyond the ordinary interstellar object that most astronomers had assumed it to be. The more data was collected, the more questions arose, and with every answer came new, more unsettling questions that pointed in a singular direction. 3 Atlas might not be a natural object at all. It could be something intentionally placed in our solar system, a manufactured anomaly. At first, the object's speed had caught the attention of astronomers. When 3 Atlas entered the solar system, its velocity was much higher than that of typical comets or asteroids. These objects usually travel through the solar system at much slower speeds, having been gradually nudged by gravitational forces over billions of years. Yet 3 Atlas was travelling at a breakneck pace, much faster than any natural object should be. Its speed suggested that it had been on a long interstellar journey, ejected from a distant star system. But even more perplexing was the fact that its velocity didn't quite match what was expected based on its observed trajectory. The object was travelling so fast that it would not have been affected by the sun's gravity in the way it should have been, causing it to pass through the solar system with unnatural ease. Such an anomalous speed, faster than expected, pointed to the possibility that 3 Atlas wasn't just a comet that had gotten caught in the solar system's gravitational pull. It was as though it was intentionally placed on this course, moving with precision. But it wasn't just the speed of 3 Atlas that raised eyebrows. Its trajectory was also eerily precise. As the object made its way through the solar system, it seemed to follow a near-perfect path, aligning itself with the ecliptic plane and passing through the gravitational spheres of influence of Venus, Mars, and Jupiter with a near-calculated accuracy. While comets and asteroids tend to follow erratic, unpredictable courses, 3 Atlas seemed to move with purpose, like an arrow shot across the cosmos. The chance alignment of its trajectory with several key planetary orbits suggested a deliberate design. Was this object simply following the laws of physics, or was it being guided by something? The precision of its path seemed too perfect to be the result of natural forces alone. Then there was the brightness of the object. Comets and asteroids, especially those from the farthest reaches of the solar system, are expected to be faint, barely visible to the naked eye. But 3 Atlas was glowing far brighter than any object at such a distance should. It emitted a steady, intense light that persisted as it passed by, far exceeding the typical outgassing seen in comets. Astronomers quickly ruled out traditional explanations for this unusual brightness. It wasn't simply a comet's tail reflecting sunlight. It seemed to be emanating light from within, as though the object itself was designed to glow. The intensity of its light was another anomaly that couldn't easily be explained by natural means. Was this simply a fluke? Or was it possible that 3 Atlas had been engineered to shine this way, perhaps as part of a more complex system or technology? The more scientists investigated, the clearer it became that 3 Atlas was not behaving according to the known laws of space. Its behaviour, from its speed to its trajectory to its unusual brightness, suggested that the object was not simply a cosmic wanderer, but something far more sophisticated. Some researchers began to entertain the possibility that 3 Atlas was a manufactured anomaly, an object intentionally placed in the solar system either by an advanced civilization or by some cosmic engineering project far beyond anything humanity could conceive. The precision of its movements, its anomalous characteristics, and its unexplained features all pointed to the possibility that it was a piece of technology designed for a purpose. Whether that purpose was scientific exploration, communication, or something else entirely remained a mystery. This manufactured anomaly theory began to gain traction among certain groups within the scientific community. Some theorists began to propose that 3I Atlas was not a natural object at all, but a deliberately constructed probe sent from another star system to observe our solar system. The idea that it had been placed in our path at this precise moment in time seemed less far-fetched when considering the perfect alignment of its trajectory and the unusual qualities of its speed and brightness. Was it possible that 3 Atlas had been sent here to study us, or perhaps to deliver a message? The notion that the object was deliberately positioned within our solar system raised the stakes, suggesting that 3 Atlas was not merely a celestial curiosity, but a purposeful visitor with a mission. In light of all these anomalies, the question remained, was 3 Atlas truly a random object passing through the solar system, or was it a manufactured creation, intentionally placed here for a reason? As the mystery surrounding its origins continued to unfold, more and more scientists began to wonder if 3I Atlas was part of a much larger deliberate plan, one that reached far beyond the simple physics of space and time. Its perfect trajectory, its inexplicable speed, and its strange brightness might have been deliberate features, crafted to ensure that the object would reach our solar system at just the right moment, carrying with it a message, a technology, or a warning from an unknown source. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. 3I Atlas was no ordinary visitor. It was something far more significant. A manufactured anomaly, a puzzle that humanity was only beginning to understand. As 3 Atlas neared its closest point to the Sun, its perihelion on October 29, 2025, the timing of its journey seemed almost too perfect to be mere coincidence. By this point, the interstellar object had already captured the attention of the world, but this next phase of its journey raised the stakes even higher. The object's trajectory, which had been so carefully aligned with the planes of the solar system, now brought it to the Sun's gravitational well, the closest it would ever come to the centre of our solar system. Yet, even more remarkably, Earth, along with the other inner planets, would be on the opposite side of the Sun, completely out of the range of any direct observation. The precise timing of this event suggested something deliberate. Could 3I Atlas be preparing for a hidden maneuver, one that might alter its trajectory and trap it within our solar system forever? The concept of perihelion, the point at which an object reaches its closest approach to the Sun, is a critical moment for any celestial body passing through our solar system. For most objects, this is simply a momentary transition, a point in their path around the Sun before they continue their journey into deep space. However, for 3I Atlas, its perihelion on October 29, 2025, felt different. The object's trajectory, while initially making a relatively direct path through the solar system, had always seemed too precise, too well calculated. This was not the erratic orbit of a typical comet or asteroid. There was an intentionality behind it, a hidden hand that seemed to be guiding it, ensuring that it would make its closest pass at just the right moment. While 3I Atlas's perihelion marked the closest point it would come to the Sun, what caught the attention of researchers was the trajectory it would follow after this encounter. Most interstellar objects that come near our Sun are either deflected or continue on their way out of the solar system, following a hyperbolic orbit. The Sun's gravity will alter their path, yes, but it generally doesn't trap them permanently. However, the trajectory of 3I Atlas seemed to have the potential for a much more unusual outcome. Some astronomers began to wonder whether the object wasn't merely passing through the solar system, but was instead being positioned for something much more significant, a cosmic maneuver that would lock it in place, potentially even trapping it within our solar system. This thought was reinforced by the precise timing of the perihelion. As 3I Atlas passed closest to the Sun, Earth would be on the other side of the star, completely out of reach for any direct observations or analysis of the flyby. This positioning seemed almost intentional, as though the object was being hidden from view at a critical moment in its journey. Why would the object's closest approach occur when Earth was on the opposite side of the Sun, making it impossible for astronomers to observe it in real time? Was this simply a coincidence, or was it part of a larger plan, one that would keep 3I Atlas hidden until the time was right for it to reveal its true purpose? The idea that 3I Atlas could be intentionally maneuvering through the solar system began to gain traction. Its trajectory, which seemed perfectly calculated, and the fact that it was nearing its perihelion at a time when Earth couldn't observe it, led some to speculate that it was being guided by a force beyond natural gravitational dynamics. The object's precise alignment with the ecliptic plane, its strangely deliberate path, and the odd timing of its perihelion all pointed to a scenario in which 3I Atlas wasn't merely a cosmic wanderer. Instead, it could be a probe, a piece of technology sent with purpose, perhaps even engineered to perform a hidden maneuver once it reached the Sun. What was this maneuver? Some suggested that 3I Atlas could be using the Sun's gravity in a way that wasn't merely a passive encounter, but an active manipulation of its trajectory. The Sun's immense gravitational force could potentially capture the object, bending its path in such a way that it would no longer escape the solar system. If the object's speed was adjusted precisely at the moment of perihelion, it could be trapped in a gravitational orbit, effectively making it a permanent resident of our solar system. This would mean that 3I Atlas wasn't simply passing through. It could be an integral part of something much larger, something that would require it to remain within the Sun's influence. The idea that 3I Atlas was positioning itself for a permanent stay in our solar system raised a slew of questions. Was this an intentional act, guided by an intelligence far beyond our own? Could 3 Atlas have been sent to observe us, study our solar system, or even interact with humanity in ways we couldn't yet understand? If it was deliberately positioned to pass by the Sun and then remain trapped within our solar system, then its purpose might be far more intricate than previously thought. Perhaps its presence was designed to coincide with a specific moment in human history when we were just beginning to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos and explore the stars. As 3 Atlas reached its perihelion, the questions about its true purpose and the possibility of a hidden maneuver only grew. Was it merely a random object passing through, or had it been placed on a specific trajectory to accomplish something far more significant? The precise timing of its approach, combined with the secrecy surrounding its movement, suggested that the object's arrival was part of a much larger plan, one that we had yet to fully comprehend. As the object's journey continued, the implications of its calculated passage through our solar system became clearer. 3 Atlas may not just be an interstellar wanderer, it could be a key to understanding something much greater, something that could alter humanity's place in the universe. As 3 Atlas made its way toward the Sun, a theory put forth by Avi Loeb, a renowned astrophysicist from Harvard, began to capture the imagination of scientists and enthusiasts alike. Loeb proposed an intriguing concept, the reverse solar maneuver, which suggested that the object could use the Sun's gravity to alter its trajectory and potentially trap itself in our solar system. This idea, though audacious, provided a compelling explanation for how 3I Atlas could be more than just a fleeting visitor. If Loeb's theory held water, it could mean that 3I Atlas was not simply passing through, but could be positioned to remain within our solar system permanently. The concept of a solar maneuver was not entirely new. Space probes like NASA's Voyager missions have used the gravitational pull of planets to adjust their trajectories, allowing them to travel farther into space than would otherwise be possible. This technique, known as a gravity assist or slingshot maneuver, has been used to speed up or redirect spacecraft. But Loeb's proposal went beyond anything previously imagined. Instead of using the Sun's gravity to fling 3I Atlas out of the solar system, he suggested that the object could harness the Sun's gravitational forces in reverse, to slow down and change its trajectory in such a way that it would become trapped in the solar system. Loeb's theory rested on a few key scientific principles. First, the Sun's gravitational influence on objects within the solar system is immense. Planets, asteroids, and comets all orbit the Sun in predictable paths, their motion governed by its gravity. But for objects that are passing through, such as 3 Atlas, the Sun's gravity typically serves to bend their path slightly before they continue their journey out of the solar system. However, by precisely timing its approach to the Sun and using its gravitational influence in a specific way, Loeb suggested that 3I Atlas could alter its trajectory and slow down enough to be captured by the Sun's gravity, preventing it from escaping the solar system entirely. In essence, the reverse solar maneuver would be an engineered process, using the gravitational force of the Sun not to fling the object outward, but to pull it inward and stabilize its orbit. The object's speed and the timing of its perihelion, the point of closest approach to the Sun, would need to be carefully calculated for this to work. 3's Atlas, having already entered the solar system at a high velocity, would need to lose some of that energy in the right way. This could theoretically allow it to settle into an orbit that would keep it within the Sun's influence. While this is a highly complex maneuver, Loeb's suggestion was grounded in known physics, and it raised questions about the object's true purpose and design. The idea that 3I Atlas could be intentionally using this reverse solar maneuver to stay within the solar system raises a host of new possibilities. First and foremost, it implies a level of control over the object's trajectory that we hadn't considered before. If 3I Atlas wasn't simply a comet or asteroid, but rather an artificial object designed to interact with the Sun's gravity in this way, then it could be a probe or a piece of technology meant to stay within our solar system permanently. This would imply that the object was deliberately positioned, not only to pass through, but to remain in our vicinity, perhaps for purposes of observation, research, or even communication. The feasibility of this maneuver is still debated, but Loeb's theory has inspired a shift in how we view 3I Atlas. If the reverse solar maneuver is possible, then it suggests that 3I Atlas may have been placed here intentionally, by an intelligence capable of orchestrating such an intricate and precise movement. It could be part of a much larger plan, one that we are only beginning to understand. The idea of using the Sun's gravity to capture an object in a permanent orbit also opens the door to new questions about the role of advanced technology in space exploration. What kind of civilization would be capable of engineering such a maneuver? Could it be that 3I Atlas is not just a solitary object, but part of a larger, more deliberate effort to explore our solar system or even make contact with humanity? The implications of the reverse solar maneuver theory extend far beyond the object itself. If 3I Atlas were to remain trapped in our solar system, it would become the first confirmed interstellar object to do so. This would fundamentally change our understanding of the dynamics of the solar system and the forces that govern objects within it. The idea that a foreign object could be intentionally placed in orbit around the Sun challenges everything we know about celestial mechanics and the possibilities for interstellar travel. More importantly, if 3I Atlas is indeed an engineered object and not just a cosmic wanderer, then its presence raises profound questions about the future of humanity. If the object is a probe, sent by an advanced civilization, what messages or knowledge could it be carrying? And if it remains in the solar system, what opportunities might arise for humanity to interact with it or learn from it? The idea of an object purposely designed to interact with the solar system would forever change our perspective on space exploration, pushing humanity to confront the possibility that we are not alone and that we may be under the watchful eye of beings with technology far beyond our own. As 3I Atlas approaches its perihelion, the possibilities grow ever more intriguing. If the reverse solar maneuver theory is correct, then the object's continued presence in our solar system may be far from accidental. Instead, it could be part of a much larger, purposeful design, one that has been set in motion long before humanity even had the capability to understand it. The future of 3I Atlas, and what it means for our understanding of space, technology, and even extraterrestrial life remains shrouded in mystery. But one thing is certain: this object is far more than just a passing comet. It is a cosmic enigma that could hold the key to a new era of exploration and discovery. As 3I Atlas continued its journey through our solar system, a bold new theory began to take shape among some researchers, one that suggested the object was not simply a comet or an interstellar visitor, but a deliberately designed tool, possibly with the purpose of transforming Mars into a habitable world. The idea that 3I Atlas could be part of a cosmic terraforming project designed to modify the environment of the red planet seemed far-fetched at first. Yet, as the object's behavior and trajectory continued to defy natural explanations, some scientists began to entertain the possibility that this was no ordinary passing object. What if 3I Atlas was an advanced terraforming device, capable of altering Mars's atmosphere, warming its surface, or even creating the conditions necessary for life to take root? The theory was built on the idea that Mars, despite its inhospitable environment today, has long been considered the most likely candidate for human colonization, and possibly even life beyond Earth. Scientists have speculated for years about the potential for terraforming the Martian environment, altering its atmosphere and temperature to make it more Earth-like, capable of supporting life. But what if the transformation of Mars wasn't something that humanity would need to do on its own? What if 3I Atlas was sent, not as a random interstellar object, but as a deliberate part of a much larger plan to make Mars more hospitable? The evidence for this theory lay in the object's proximity to Mars and the unusual atmospheric changes detected on the red planet as 3I Atlas passed through the solar system. Scientists noticed subtle shifts in Mars's atmosphere, unexpected increases in certain gases like carbon dioxide and water vapor, which are critical components for the greenhouse effect. The timing of these changes was uncanny, perfectly aligning with 3I Atlas's flyby. While some experts dismissed these fluctuations as nothing more than typical Martian seasonal variations, others began to speculate that the object's presence was having a more direct impact. Could 3I Atlas, with its unusual chemical composition and inexplicable brightness, be emitting energy or radiation that was triggering these atmospheric changes on Mars? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the terraforming theory was the object's behavior as it passed through the solar system. 3I Atlas's trajectory, which seemed so meticulously calculated, led it directly over key regions of Mars's orbit. It didn't simply pass by Mars in a random fashion. It followed a path that brought it close enough to the planet to exert some influence, while at the same time moving in such a way that it could avoid being detected or fully understood by astronomers. This level of precision suggested that 3I Atlas's approach wasn't merely incidental. It seemed to be part of a larger design, as if the object had been placed in the solar system at just the right time to influence Mars's environment. But what was the purpose behind such an influence? Could the object have been designed to alter Mars's atmosphere, warming the planet and thickening the atmosphere enough to trigger the greenhouse effect? The idea that 3I Atlas could be a terraforming device was grounded in the notion that a sophisticated civilization might use such tools to prepare a planet for future habitation. If this theory held any weight, it would mean that Mars was part of a much larger plan, a long-term project to make it suitable for life, perhaps even human life. The exact mechanisms of how 3I Atlas might carry out this transformation remained speculative, but the possibility of it being a tool to alter the Martian environment seemed more plausible with each passing day. For proponents of the terraforming theory, 3I Atlas's behavior provided a tantalizing glimpse into the capabilities of advanced civilizations that could harness the energy of entire celestial objects to transform planets. The idea of terraforming, long relegated to science fiction, was now being considered not just as a theoretical possibility, but as something that might already be happening in our solar system, unbeknownst to us. If 3I Atlas was indeed an artificial construct designed to alter the environment of Mars, it would represent a level of technological sophistication far beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of achieving. Could this be the first sign that an advanced alien civilization had already begun the process of preparing Mars for habitation? But the questions didn't stop there. If 3I Atlas was truly a terraforming tool, could it be part of a larger series of steps being taken to make Mars more hospitable? Was this just the beginning of a long-term process, one that would continue to unfold over centuries or even millennia? And if 3I Atlas was placed on a specific trajectory, not just to influence Mars but perhaps to introduce us to an extraterrestrial presence, what would be the next step in this interstellar terraforming project? The more scientists examined 3I Atlas, the more the possibility seemed to grow that the object was not simply a comet passing through our solar system. It wasn't just a piece of cosmic debris, it was a tool, a device designed with purpose, a device that could potentially be the final piece in a much larger cosmic terraforming project. Whether it was intended to kickstart Mars's transformation or to play a role in a broader effort to create habitable conditions on the planet, the implications were profound. If this theory is correct, then humanity might not be the first to try to make Mars habitable. Someone, or something, might have already begun that work long before we even set foot on the planet. As 3i Atlas continues its journey, the question remains, could this object be the beginning of the terraforming of Mars, and if so, who or what sent it here to do the work? As 3i Atlas continued its journey through the solar system, the questions surrounding its true nature only deepened. Was it merely a comet or an interstellar wanderer, or could it be something far more significant? Some researchers began to entertain a truly mind-boggling hypothesis. What if 3i Atlas had been part of a long-running plan to terraform Mars, one that dates back thousands of years? Could the object be the tool used by ancient civilizations, possibly the very ones described in Sumerian tablets and other ancient texts, to alter the atmosphere of Mars and prepare it for life? This theory, though speculative, suggests that 3i Atlas's arrival is not a random event, but the culmination of a much older and far-reaching cosmic project. The roots of this hypothesis lie in the ancient records that have been preserved over millennia, particularly those of the Sumerians, one of the oldest known civilizations in history. The Sumerians, famed for their advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics, left behind a wealth of documents, many of which describe interactions with beings from the stars. These beings, known as the Anunnaki, were said to possess technologies far beyond the capabilities of early humanity. The Sumerian tablets tell of gods who descended from the heavens, and in some accounts were tasked with altering the Earth and even other planets to create habitable environments. But what if the Sumerians weren't just referring to Earth when they spoke of the Anunnaki's terraforming efforts? What if they were describing a much broader project, one that included Mars? According to the ancient texts, the Anunnaki had a profound influence on Earth's early development, imparting knowledge of agriculture, writing, and even building technologies. Yet, many of the myths and stories also refer to their work with the celestial bodies, particularly Mars. In one particularly cryptic passage, the Anunnaki are said to have breathed life into the land of the Red Planet, suggesting that they had a hand in altering the environment of Mars long before humanity began to look to the planet as a potential home. The descriptions are vague, but the recurring theme of advanced technology used to alter planetary atmospheres hints at the possibility that the Anunnaki, perhaps with tools like 3i Atlas, set in motion a process of terraforming that has spanned millennia. When considering this ancient terraforming hypothesis, 3i Atlas's behaviour and characteristics take on a much more intriguing light. If 3i Atlas is indeed an artificial object, then its path through the solar system, its anomalous speed, its alignment with the planets, and even its chemical composition could be clues pointing to its role in this ancient plan. It is possible that 3i Atlas was placed in our solar system long ago, waiting for the right moment to activate a process that would help terraform Mars, perhaps even trigger a final stage in a long-forgotten terraforming project. The idea that the object could be the tool used by an ancient civilization to alter the Martian environment fits with the broader themes in these ancient records. If the ancient Sumerians and other civilizations knew how to manipulate planetary environments, it stands to reason that they might have developed technology capable of altering the atmosphere of a planet like Mars. The idea of seeding a planet with the necessary elements to support life, such as carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases, would require tools that could manipulate the atmospheric conditions on a planetary scale. 3i Atlas, with its unusual chemical composition and its interaction with Mars's atmosphere, could very well be such a tool. The spikes in carbon dioxide and water vapor observed on Mars as 3i Atlas passed through could be the result of the object's technology actively triggering the release of gases needed to thicken the Martian atmosphere and kickstart the greenhouse effect. The ancient terraforming hypothesis also explains why 3i Atlas's arrival appears so perfectly timed. Its trajectory, its alignment with the ecliptic plane, and its close pass by Mars suggest that it was placed on this course intentionally, perhaps millennia ago, to coincide with a specific moment in Mars's transformation. The Sumerians, with their knowledge of the stars and the planets, may have been aware of the cycles of Mars's atmosphere, and through its atlas could have been engineered to arrive at just the right time in the process of terraforming, when Mars was ready to undergo the next phase of its transformation. The possibility that 3i Atlas is a remnant of an ancient terraforming project raises profound questions about the nature of ancient civilizations and their capabilities. If this theory holds, then the idea that Mars was targeted for transformation by advanced beings long before humanity came into existence would fundamentally alter our understanding of both our past and our future. It would suggest that the process of terraforming a planet is not only possible but has been attempted before by civilizations with technology far beyond what we can comprehend today. In this context, 3i Atlas is not just an anomaly in the sky. It is a key to understanding a much larger, much older plan. Whether it was placed by the Anunnaki, another advanced civilization, or even some other cosmic entity, the presence of 3i Atlas in our solar system could signal the final stages of Mars's transformation into a habitable world. As humanity looks toward the Red Planet with the ambition of one day sending people there, we may be merely witnessing the last remnants of a process that has been underway for thousands of years. If 3i Atlas is indeed part of an ancient terraforming project, then it suggests that Mars has long been viewed as a potential home for life, not just by us, but by civilizations far older and more advanced. As 3i Atlas continued its journey through our solar system, the evidence began to mount suggesting that it was no mere cosmic wanderer. The more astronomers studied the object, the more it seemed to exhibit behaviors and characteristics that defied natural explanations. Its trajectory, speed, and the strange effects it had on the planets it passed by pointed to something far more complex than a random interstellar object. The growing consensus among some researchers was that 3i Atlas was not simply passing through. Rather, it was an integral part of a much larger intergalactic engineering project, one designed to shape and transform entire planetary systems over vast stretches of time. This hypothesis proposed that 3i Atlas was a carefully orchestrated element of a long-term plan to modify planets and environments to suit the needs of an advanced civilization, one that had mastered the art of manipulating entire star systems. The idea of intergalactic engineering might sound like something from science fiction, but the evidence suggested that what we were witnessing was far from an accident. The object's precise alignment with the ecliptic plane of the solar system, the speed at which it was travelling, and the way it seemed to influence the planets in its wake, all pointed to the possibility that 3i Atlas was intentionally placed on its path. The timing of its arrival was no accident either. As it passed close to Mars and interacted with its atmosphere in ways no natural object should, it raised the question, was 3i Atlas part of a deliberate strategy to transform planetary environments, potentially across entire galaxies? At the core of this hypothesis was the idea that advanced civilizations, perhaps operating across vast stretches of space, had learned to manipulate planets and their environments on a cosmic scale. The engineering of entire planetary systems, shaping atmospheres, introducing life-supporting conditions, and even altering the physical characteristics of worlds, was a task that would require a level of technology and planning far beyond anything humanity has ever conceived. The evidence of 3i Atlas suggested that such engineering might already be underway, and that we were merely witnessing the final stages of this massive long-term cosmic project. The hypothesis that 3i Atlas was part of this intergalactic engineering project gained weight when researchers began to consider the object's role in relation to Mars. The recent atmospheric changes detected on the Red Planet, subtle shifts in the levels of carbon dioxide and water vapour, seemed to coincide perfectly with 3i Atlas's passage through the solar system. These fluctuations, although they could have been dismissed as seasonal changes, were too perfectly timed and too intense to be ignored. Was it possible that 3i Atlas wasn't just a passive bystander in the solar system, but an active participant in an effort to transform Mars into a more habitable world? If this was the case, then the scope of the project would go far beyond Mars. It could involve dozens, if not hundreds, of planets across different galaxies, each one being shaped to meet the needs of a vast and sophisticated civilization. What made this theory even more compelling was the possibility that 3i Atlas was only one of many such objects, each one playing a specific role in this grand engineering project. Perhaps these objects were deployed across the universe, tasked with manipulating the environments of planets in a systematic way to create worlds capable of supporting life. 3 Atlas, with its precise trajectory, strange polarization of light, and unexplained brightness, could be just one example of a much larger network of technologies that had been strategically placed across the cosmos. The sheer scale of this engineering project suggested that it wasn't the work of a single civilization, but perhaps a coalition of advanced species, each contributing their own expertise to the creation of habitable planets in galaxies far beyond our own. If this hypothesis were true, it would mean that the concept of terraforming, once considered a futuristic and far-off dream for humanity, was already being carried out on a galactic scale by civilizations whose technology and understanding of the universe far surpassed our own. The manipulation of planetary environments would be just one aspect of their vast long-term vision, a vision that could involve shaping entire star systems, constructing worlds designed to support specific forms of life, and guiding the evolution of planets for millennia. The goal of such a project would not be just to colonize these worlds, but to create habitable environments where life could thrive in a carefully controlled way, ensuring that planets would remain suitable for future generations. In this context, 3i Atlas was more than just an object passing through our solar system. It was a piece of a larger puzzle, a tool in a cosmic construction project that had been set in motion eons ago. The fact that the object was now arriving at a time when humanity was on the brink of space exploration, and Mars colonization only added to the mystery. Could it be that 3i Atlas was not just monitoring humanity's progress, but interacting with the solar system in preparation for something much greater? The idea that 3i Atlas was part of an intergalactic engineering project raises profound questions about the nature of intelligence, space exploration, and the future of life beyond Earth. What does it mean for humanity to realize that we might not be the first to manipulate the environments of planets? If this theory holds any weight, it suggests that the universe is not just a random collection of planets and stars, but a carefully orchestrated cosmic endeavor, one in which we're only just beginning to play a role. The evidence, though still speculative, invites us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe, and about the civilizations that may already be shaping the cosmos to suit their needs. As 3i Atlas continues its passage through the solar system, the questions surrounding its purpose have only grown more profound. What was once considered an extraordinary celestial event is quickly revealing itself to be something much more, something that could reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. While the initial focus was on Mars, the more scientists probe into the object's behavior and trajectory, the more it seems that this is not just a singular mission directed at transforming a distant, barren planet. The deeper one looks, the more the mystery unfolds, suggesting that 3i Atlas's true purpose might involve not just Mars but Earth as well. The implications of this realization are staggering. This is no longer just about a comet passing through, it's about a cosmic agenda, one that could dramatically alter humanity's future. The very fact that 3 Atlas's trajectory is so perfectly calculated, its speed so precise, and its brightness so unnatural, all point to the possibility that it is not just a random object from another star system. Its arrival, its strange interaction with the Martian atmosphere, and its calculated course through the solar system could all be part of something much larger. Some experts have speculated that 3i Atlas might be more than just a comet. It could be a tool, a probe, or even a key component of a grand design. What if this interstellar object is merely the first in a long series of carefully orchestrated steps? What if it is not just Mars that is being altered, but the solar system itself, with humanity at its centre? As the evidence continues to mount, it becomes increasingly difficult to ignore the unsettling possibility that humanity may not be alone in the universe, and that we may have been part of a larger cosmic plan long before we even realized it. If 3I Atlas is indeed a deliberately placed object designed to transform planets like Mars, then what does that mean for Earth? Could we be next in line? The thought that Earth might be involved in a cosmic terraforming project raises questions not just about our future, but about the very nature of our existence. What if we're not simply observing a strange celestial visitor, but are in fact witnessing the first stages of an agenda that could profoundly affect humanity's future, for better or worse? The idea that 3I Atlas could be the first sign of such a larger cosmic agenda is not as far-fetched as it might seem. The evidence that the object was intentionally guided to pass through the solar system at just the right time, in just the right way, suggests that it is part of a design, one that might have been set in motion by an intelligence far beyond our understanding. If this intelligence is capable of placing such an object on a precise trajectory to affect Mars, what else might it be capable of? Could Earth too be part of a long-term plan, one in which the solar system is systematically altered and prepared for a future that we are not yet equipped to understand? The stakes, then, are much higher than we could ever imagine. 3 Atlas may not simply be a study of Mars or a piece of cosmic debris. It could be a signal, a warning, or an invitation. Perhaps it is a messenger, sent not just to observe Mars, but to test humanity's response. After all, 3I Atlas is on a trajectory that brings it dangerously close to Earth. If it is a probe or a tool designed for terraforming, as some have suggested, then the idea that Earth could be next in line becomes a frightening possibility. What would this mean for the future of our planet? Would we be the next target of this cosmic engineering project? Or are we part of a greater cosmic balance that has yet to reveal itself? This question looms large as we continue to study the object's behaviour. If 3I Atlas is truly a tool of a much larger plan, it would imply that the transformations occurring on Mars are only the beginning of a much grander design, one that could involve Earth, and possibly other planets as well. The idea that such an engineering project could span galaxies, carefully moulding and shaping planets to suit the needs of an advanced civilization, forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth. Humanity may be part of a cosmic experiment or plan that we can scarcely comprehend. As the mystery of 3I Atlas deepens, the stakes continue to rise. The question is no longer whether we are alone in the universe. This object seems to suggest we are not. Instead, the real question is, what role will humanity play in this unfolding cosmic drama? Will we be passive observers, or will we take part in the next phase of this grand design? The possibility that 3I Atlas is the first sign of a larger cosmic agenda that involves not just Mars but Earth as well forces us to confront the reality that the universe may be much more interconnected and much more deliberate than we ever imagined. The object's purpose may not simply be to alter planets. It may be to alter the very course of humanity's future. And as we wait for the next chapter of this mystery to unfold, one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher. As 3 Atlas continues its journey through our solar system, the mysteries surrounding the object are gradually unfolding, and with each new discovery, the implications for humanity grow ever more profound. The object's unusual behaviour, its perfect trajectory, and the strange atmospheric changes it triggered on Mars have led some to speculate that 3I Atlas is far more than just a random interstellar visitor. It may be part of a much larger and more deliberate cosmic plan, one that is intricately woven into the fabric of the universe. But the ultimate question remains: what does this mean for humanity? As the secrets of 3I Atlas slowly unravel, we are forced to confront a terrifying reality. We might not just be observers in this grand cosmic game, we might be pawns in it, unaware of the forces shaping our solar system and our destiny. For centuries, humanity has looked to the stars with a sense of wonder and curiosity, eager to explore the unknown and understand our place in the vast expanse of the universe. But what if the universe is not as random and chaotic as we have always assumed? What if there are larger forces at work, ones that have been guiding the evolution of planets, the development of life, and even the course of human civilization itself? 3 Atlas could be the first sign of this cosmic order, a symbol that we are not the masters of our fate, but rather participants in a much larger and much older plan. The possibility that 3Y Atlas is a tool of an advanced civilization or part of a cosmic terraforming project raises troubling questions about the nature of our existence. If an advanced species has been manipulating planets and environments on a galactic scale, then humanity's role in this grand design could be far more passive than we would like to believe. Are we simply an experiment, a species being shaped by forces far beyond our comprehension? Could we be the unintended beneficiaries of an interstellar engineering project, with our solar system simply one piece in a much larger puzzle? The idea that we might be pawns in a cosmic game forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about free will, destiny, and our place in the universe. But there is another, more hopeful possibility. As 3I Atlas continues its passage through the solar system, humanity is presented with a unique opportunity, the chance to understand the forces shaping our solar system, and possibly to take control of our own future. If 3I Atlas is indeed part of a deliberate plan, it suggests that the knowledge to manipulate planetary environments, to shape and mould the very fabric of a star system, is within our reach. Perhaps, one day, humanity will be able to harness this knowledge, not just to alter planets like Mars, but to control the very forces that govern our solar system. This revelation could be the key to our future, not as passive participants in an intergalactic experiment, but as active architects of our own destiny. The implications of understanding and controlling these forces would be transformative. The ability to terraform planets, to alter atmospheres, and to reshape entire worlds could provide humanity with the tools to ensure its survival and to expand beyond Earth. It could be the key to colonizing other worlds, creating habitable environments on distant planets, and even mastering the art of interstellar travel. But this knowledge also carries risks. The power to shape worlds is not something to be taken lightly, and it could have unintended consequences. If humanity is indeed on the cusp of understanding the forces behind 3I Atlas, we must ask ourselves, are we ready for this responsibility? Can we be trusted to control the immense power that comes with it? The ultimate revelation, however, may not be about our ability to control these forces, but our ability to understand them. 3 Atlas might not just be a tool or a probe, but a message, one that challenges us to rethink our place in the universe. If this object is part of a much larger cosmic project, it could be offering us a glimpse into the next phase of our evolution. The fact that it has come into our solar system at this precise moment, when humanity is on the verge of becoming an interplanetary species, suggests that we are being pushed toward a new frontier, one that transcends the limits of our planet and forces us to confront the possibility that we are not alone, and that the universe itself may be far more interconnected than we have ever imagined. As the mystery of 3I Atlas continues to unfold, the stakes for humanity could not be higher. The revelations that could arise from understanding this object and its purpose could change everything we know about our existence. We may find that we are not just players in a cosmic game, but that we have the potential to reshape the very fabric of our reality. The question remains, will we rise to the challenge, or will we remain passive observers, unaware of the forces that have been shaping our solar system for eons? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. 3 Atlas is not just an object passing through our solar system, it is the beginning of a revelation that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. As 3 Atlas disappears behind the sun, humanity enters a period of uneasy anticipation. The object which has captivated the scientific community and the world at large is now out of sight, hidden from our view as it reaches the farthest point of its trajectory. But while it remains behind the sun, the questions surrounding it only grow louder, more insistent. What secrets lie hidden within 3I Atlas, and what will we learn when it re-emerges in December 2025? As we await its return, the stakes are higher than ever. Will the data collected in its wake reveal the answers we've been searching for, or will we be left with even more questions, furthering the mystery of its true purpose? The re-emergence of 3I Atlas holds the potential to be one of the most significant moments in the history of space exploration. Its time spent hidden behind the sun is more than just an opportunity for scientists to take a break from its close examination. It's a chance to reflect, to synthesize the data gathered so far and to prepare for the next stage of the journey. We know that when the object reappears, it will be at the critical juncture of its passage through the solar system. The data collected up until this point has only scratched the surface of its mysteries, but as it re-enters our field of observation, we'll be faced with a fresh set of challenges and revelations. The time for speculation will be over, and the true nature of 3i Atlas may begin to come into sharper focus. One of the key questions that will arise when 3 Atlas re-emerges is whether we'll finally be able to decode the hidden signals it has been broadcasting. For months, astronomers and researchers have been grappling with the strange pulses of energy that have been detected coming from the object, signals that seem too structured, too intentional to be merely random noise. These signals, dismissed by some as glitches or interference, have lingered in the background, with their true meaning elusive. Could they be the first communications from an intelligence far beyond our own? Or are they simply artifacts of the object's unknown composition? When 3i Atlas returns, we'll have the opportunity to study these signals more closely, and the potential for breakthrough discoveries is immense. If these signals are indeed intentional, they could represent the first real contact with an extraterrestrial civilization, a moment in history that would forever alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. At the same time, the re-emergence of 3i Atlas will bring with it a flood of new data, and perhaps new questions. Every piece of information we've gathered so far has added to the growing mystery of the object's true purpose. But the closer we get to fully understanding it, the more the complexity of the situation deepens. If 3i Atlas is indeed part of a larger interstellar agenda, the implications for humanity could be staggering. If it is a probe, a tool of an advanced civilization, or even a message waiting to be decoded, what does it mean for our future? Are we merely witnesses to a cosmic plan? Or are we being tested, invited, or even manipulated? The answers we uncover in the coming months could provide clarity, or they could force us to confront uncomfortable truths about the role humanity plays in a universe that may not be as random as we once thought. The return of 3i Atlas also holds the potential to answer some of the most pressing questions about Mars and the solar system. If 3i Atlas is indeed influencing Mars's atmosphere, as some researchers have suggested, what happens when the object reappears? Will we see further changes in the Martian environment, perhaps signals that the terraforming process, whether natural or artificial, has entered a new phase? The possibility that 3i Atlas is actively participating in transforming Mars raises urgent questions about the future of the Red Planet. Is it being prepared for human colonization, or is there a broader, more mysterious agenda at play? As 3i Atlas re-emerges, we could be on the brink of uncovering the final pieces of this cosmic puzzle. But perhaps the most significant question of all is what all of this means for humanity's place in the universe. 3i Atlas's appearance and the mysteries it has brought with it have already challenged our assumptions about the nature of space, technology, and even life itself. When the object reappears in December 2024, the answers we uncover could change everything we thought we knew about our existence. Are we merely a species adrift in the vastness of space, or are we part of something much larger, something orchestrated by forces we have yet to fully comprehend? The potential for discovery is overwhelming, but it also brings with it the weight of responsibility. What happens when humanity is faced with undeniable evidence that we are not alone, and that the forces shaping our solar system may be far more complex than we ever imagined? As we await the return of 3i Atlas, the mystery is far from over. The final countdown has begun. What we learn when the object re-emerges could forever alter the trajectory of human history, providing us with answers to questions that have plagued us for centuries, or opening up new mysteries that we are only beginning to understand. The stakes are higher than ever, and the future of humanity hangs in the balance. The true nature of 3i Atlas is just beginning to be revealed, and as we approach the moment of truth, one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. If you found this cosmic mystery as captivating as we have, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates as we continue to unravel the secrets of 3i Atlas.